So you guys know how this one goes. If you guys have been to these theme streams, who knows? Maybe we get some wealthy donor who comes in and wants to buy a couple hours and me sitting here like a dum dum in front of the camera. But yeah, for the most part, if we're doing this is the very fun thing. If we're doing these philosophy streams, you guys want to come in for 5-10 minutes, say something interesting, say something cool. Please do so. And then by and large, maybe we'll be online for about an hour, 45 minutes or so. Yeah, and that's usually about an hour, 45 minutes, I think. In the big scheme of things, if you guys are settling in a little bit, an hour, 45 minutes of me on live, and this will give us some time. I'll put a poll question up. And yeah, you guys can kind of ask questions. You guys can state your opinion, say what's up. You guys can say Messi World Cup. You guys can say New York Knicks in 5, right? Whatever you guys want. I don't care. I don't care. It doesn't matter. And so, and just, and yeah, so before you guys accuse me of something, I'm just going to tell you guys the title of this stream is Let's Debate the Philosophy of the Left. And yeah, it's very weird to say that. It's very weird to say that there are philosophies attached to ideologies. And you don't have to see it this way. You can, if you come at it from if you were in a philosophy department, for example, at, a good school or something like this, if you were at the philosophy department, you'd say, yeah, not all these guys, Karl Marx, kind of tough to pull from ideology. Gramsci, a little hard to pull from ideology. But in terms of Hegel and Lacan, these guys pretty easy to look at independently of political thought, independently of political philosophy, independent of what's going on in the world today. You could just, there's someone, who knows, you own a small donut shop, just as an example. You own a small donut shop. You can believe in them. Hey, what's going on? What's going on, Czar? Good to see you. Yeah, good to see you. And yeah. Hey, what's going on, Daniel? Good to see you. Yeah, and so if you guys have opinions, I'm gonna tell you guys right away. I sort of disagree a little bit with all these guys we've got listed. All these guys listed. My name is Medina. Hey, what's going on, Medina? Good to see you. Yeah, good to see you. Good to see you. Yeah, I disagree. I disagree a little bit with all the people that we're talking about. In terms of the ideas, I think it's super interesting and stuff. Hey, what's going on, Sixth Sense? Good to see you. They're all very interesting ideas. And when we talk about the Iranian peace deal, when we talk about world events, what's to be learned and things like this, I don't think that we have to agree or disagree too much. You lost access to valuable. Hey, yeah, great point. Great point. Maybe I got to check myself before I wreck myself. Dominus says you disagree way too much, that you lost access to valuable opinions and truths in the process. Thank you for the feedback. Thank you for the feedback. Yeah, I'm here to either be a debate partner or to chat GPT stuff within myself or on the internet. From Azerbaijan. Cool. Shout out to you. Yeah, I've never been to Azerbaijan. And yeah, hopefully it's a beautiful country. From what I understand, Azerbaijan has a lot of really beautiful areas outside of sort of like the core capital areas and stuff like this. But I'd love to learn more about the culture and love to learn more about Azerbaijan, the history and stuff like that, the history and the whatnot. I like what you do. Stand on your moral ground. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, what is morals though? What can we say is true about morality or the ground that it stands upon? For Hegel, he says that there's this absolute of becoming, but we don't talk about it that much, right? We don't talk about what for him the sort of most fundamental. If you go wonder why you might not talk about the fundamental version of reality, subjective and personal. Great point. I'm from Arizona in the Southwest United States. Hey, what's going on, Celtic Socialist? Yeah, the debate stream. It's a debate stream. It says let's debate or let's debate the exclamation point the philosophy of the left. Debate the philosophy of the left. Yeah. So yeah, and it's not always the case in my experience. It's not always the case that somebody who's on the left is like a Hegel or Lacan or a Gramsci or a Marx expert. Sometimes they are, though, right? Sometimes people who have that identity, the political left, do come with those sort of priors. They say, hey, well, this is how this is how my mind kind of understands or wraps around what's going on today. This is why I support socialism, capitalism, all kinds of stuff. Yeah, all kinds of stuff. Yeah. Yep. Gramsci is cool. Yeah, awesome. Yeah. Yeah, Gramsci is very cool. I think historicism's underrepresented. Historicism's a little bit underrepresented. And to me, it's not about the ideology that Gramsci himself held to. So he was an Italian socialist. He ended up getting executed. He was a political prisoner for much of his life, and a philosopher, wrote a bunch of letters. Very sad story. One of these very sad stories. And when was this guy writing? Right? Let's see. Antonio Gramsci, 1891 to 1937. So when he was born, when he was about 10 years old, Antonio Gramsci, he would have been seeing the first giant wave of de-democratization, right? So he would have seen this giant First World War from the perspective of Italy, and he would have seen that as Europe fails to solve some of their problems, the democracies that literally came from the Treaty of Westphalia, these now deep class struggles, some might say, or we might say deep pains of modernity and industrialization, whichever view or modality you take as a prior. Gramsci would have been seeing this and seeing that, well, the Western thoughts basically produced this push for industrialization, militarism, and war. That is what would happen. And so he was also imprisoned by the fascist regime of Mussolini in 1926. 1926, he gets arrested. So, the guy's 35 years old. Would have been maybe developing some maturity about that time. And unfortunately spends the rest of his, you lock up this is kind of sad. You lock up a 40-year-old guy. You maybe don't think about things like that all the time. You lock up this 40-year-old guy, extreme political beliefs. Who knows? We know some people get, kind of wonky in the head. Some people just believe stuff. But you lock up this 40-year-old guy for 10 years and you got to wonder, and he ends up getting executed. So, the prison notebooks is still taught as political thought. It can still be taught as philosophy. And historicism is a very interesting idea to explore in an academic and animal brain. Do I understand Azerbaijan language? No, if you're typing, it's translating for me. It translates automatically. Yeah, it translates automatically. So anything you put in your keyboard, if anything you put in your keyboard, I would see translated. Are you somehow a UFC champion? I'm not a champion of anything, right? I'd be in the ring, and I'm not saying Hey, if you guys need to see it, I would be a great MMA fighter one day. Maybe one of the best, right? One of the best. But in reality, I'd be like, I'd be screaming in the corner, I'd be screaming in the corner, broken ankle, all kinds of weird stuff. The old world is dying and the new world struggles to be born. Now is the time of monsters. Yeah, deep frustration, right? Deep frustration. And historicism is a great argument. It's an interesting argument. It argues that history actually reshapes the metaphysics. And I'm a vegan, so maybe Celtic socialist, if you have that sort of, your name, who knows, maybe you're one of the punk badasses of the left, or sort of, people thinking like that or whatever. Or maybe you're like more a little bit of an empath or something like this. But I like to see this. My understanding of historicism is there's two sides to it. If we view it from an anthropomorphized philosophy side, Gramsci's basically saying that, it's always the case that, might makes right. And then it also seems that the language and the systems and things we have access to are ultimately reinterpreted. So, when we say now is the time of monsters, if you give Gramsci his credit, look back at World War II, look back at Adolf Hitler, look back at the worst times in world history, and you can say, well, these were monsters. You should say these were monsters that were were addressing what they saw as serious problems, but really just committing violence against people. These were monsters. And it's sort of silly because at the end of the day, you know, someone might criticize this and say, well, you know, Hitler still got out of bed, put his shoes on, you know, one shoe at a time. You know, old mustache man Mussolini, right? When he had to go from A to B, he still had to take a motor coach, or something like this in order to get there. You know, he was even the guy that just got there. And so, you know, you can take the philosophy way deeper. I also think it's interesting to think that, well, if we say we limit our understanding to positive or idealized understanding, we just say, well, these two modalities that are described in text, that is what is coherent, that is what is understandable to people. You know, you're going to end up, if you end up doing Charlie Kirk style debate tactics, you're going to end up in left field. You're not going to be talking about any version of reality anyone recognizes. You're just going to be talking about people's preferences. And so from a scholastic or Oxford academic philosophy style perspective, you know, it's not just political thought that Gramsci was talking about. He was talking about all of metaphysics, all of history. And one just has to ask, well, you know, if it's not the case, that our, what we might think of as judgment and intuition, if we don't think of it as our, you know, human faculties forming beliefs and those beliefs comporting to the world, what are we talking about? We are talking about history. We're talking about our own history, and we're talking about putting up, like, you know, a deep criticism of sciences might be, are we just pinning up, like, you know, the highest North Star and saying, well, we're all talking about this? Who knows? Who knows, right? Don't talk like that, but there it is. Take a shower, says Trapaholic. Hey, what's going on? Response 51. I wish I could help with whatever it is. Take a shower, brush your teeth, nasty. Cool. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Listen, quite my boy. Okay, cool. I'm listening. Whatever you guys want. How important is the vein in the Snickers and Milky Way to you? They're very important to me. Yeah, fillings are very good. Neapolitan's got it down. You know, Neapolitan ice cream. Who knows? What else? Neapolitan. Can you have Neapolitan croissants? All kinds of yummy stuff. All kinds of yummers. Historical law inheritance. Victor Thomas. I don't know what that means. Historical law inheritance. Where Roman law standardized wills. Oh, are you talking about actual legal systems or whatever it is? Yeah, I don't know what that means. Probate documents. Cool. Yeah. Okay. So 43% of you guys say Hegel, 29% say Marx. In the poll question, 0% say Gramsci, 29% say Lacan. And yeah, that's what it's like. Yeah, so that would be what it's like a little bit. That would be what it's like. Yeah. So yeah, Hegel's also very cool, right? When he says, you know, Hegel avoids some of the problems, right? And someone could accuse in a contemporary sense, if you saw Hegel's paper, you might say, well, the lack of depth and the lack of ability to evidence what Hegel says is underlying does two things, right? The benefit is it does avoid meta critiques and inquiries that come from even studies like physics that perhaps have some metaphysical draw, have a very a phenomenal draw that is so robust that right, this is a phenomenal draw that is so robust that it might end up you know, meaning something in reality. But you could also say, well, the weakness is that in Hegel terms, Hegel world, absolute nothing and absolute becoming. Also, it avoids these meta inquiries. It's because it lacks depth, because it lacks sort of any ability to form priors around this concept. It just assumes metaphysics and then goes on to define what metaphysics is. So that would be one criticism of Hegel, which is maybe I think a good one. I think it would be worth, right? That's one criticism, maybe its own hour discussion. Hey, Aravind, what's going on? Hello, Maximus. This has been good. Cool. Yeah, thanks, Gazo Coleman. Yeah, hopefully it's been good. Yeah. Young Folks by Peter Bjorn and John. I haven't heard it. I was never a big I disagree with everything. I've never been a big indie fan. I've never been a big indie music fan. But whoa, I'm sorry about it. Whoa. I don't think Roth is hot enough. Right? I don't think Roth is hot enough. Yeah, I'll tell you. Let me be honest. If Roth was a hot girl or something like that, and I was emotionally available, Roth is a hot girl, and I'm emotionally available. All of a sudden, I'm saying, "Hey, yeah, let me go get my Bose speaker box. Let me go get the Bose speaker box. Do you know what I'm saying? Blah 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 blah." Hegel's a hot girl. Marx is a hot girl. Marx is the hottest of girls, right? Marx. Here's something, a fun fact you can know about Karl Marx. Karl Marx maybe most easily defines the floor, and this is also the benefit of when Marx lived and what people were interested in. It's maybe also just a benefit of the state of metaphysics and epistemology at that time. So Karl Marx had this famous dispute with this philosopher named Feuerbach, and they were discussing materialism. This was relevant for the technology being produced at the time. It was also relevant for the new discovery of natural laws, which could be as encompassing as describing what the human species is like, including biology and evolution. And so for some people, they saw this as defining truth or pushing forward to what truth may be. And for others, they saw this as a reason to reject positive study, to reject modern science, as producing technology that seemed to erase what human identity has been and civilizational identity has been. So Marx's dispute with Feuerbach, Marx doesn't seem like an extremist. He doesn't seem like an ideologue. Well, Marx was an ideologue, right? He was ideological as well as being a philosopher and economist. But in his letters to Feuerbach, this seemed to take a very moderate approach, that we can talk about material reality as well as how we feel things, right? You're not a protractor, Marx would say, right? In a debate point, he would say, you're not a protractor. And you'd have to admit to Karl Marx, no, indeed, I'm not a protractor. And then Marx could also, refugees have so much, wait, what's up, chat? Refugees have so much problems in 6 years in European countries. Yeah. With the protests in Belfast, have you guys seen the city burning? I'm interested. I would be very surprised if I dove into Belfast crime, that the majority of crime being committed is being committed by immigrants. And what type of crimes? Has anyone in Europe talked about intimate partner violence? Have you talked about psychological problems that are facing people in society? Have you talked about how people feel just ordinarily, right? Even our social epistemology, how people feel about the economy, right? Without prescribing yourself into that equation. I think the rise of nationalism, I'm undermining the rise of nationalism, the rise of identity politics in Europe. And so when you say that refugees are creating a problem, or you're creating a problem because of immigration, which is non-existent, these things seem to stop. These things seem to stop whatever must be a future conversation, whatever it is. And the reason that would be is because you can't live in a society where people are burning cars. They're asking others to kidnap others. This severe. I really hope that the police in Ireland are able to investigate the crimes committed, and send that message that this was unacceptable behavior. I give greetings by given no salutations. Men's Mental Health Month. I don't think there's a problem to say that mental health. This is as much as my little fickle male brain can entertain. A blah 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 blah. No, but absolutely, mental health. I don't know why it's an internet topic as much as. If you're lucky to have healthcare resources and stuff like that. And then there are things that are social and still sort of in a bucket, like coping mechanisms, the way we relate to ourselves as guys, these types of things. Very simple, I think. Hey, I'm not going to go too far into it. I'm no expert. How can I be Jesus? Asks King Eric. No clue. Yeah. You got to have all these guys write about you 80 years after you're gone. Jesus loves me. I don't know who Jesus is. So yeah, I was raised Catholic. My identity is that of an ex-Catholic. I'm also a Buddhist atheist. So yeah, I hope so. I hope I'm a Buddhist atheist. Winning the lottery isn't retirement, it's planning. Winning the lottery isn't retirement planning. Cool. Yeah. We've got amazing words of wisdom coming out from Soundgarden Savage. What do you want to do, bro? What do you want to do? What do you want to do? I think when you treat people condescendingly, like they're idiots, and you also don't allow idiots to win, right? So they're both abusive situations. Here's an example of patriarchy, maybe. Here's an example of just how dumb people are, is what I would say. These idiots. I am a dumb guy. I am a dumb guy. You would be surprised. Give me a vegan pizza. Give me a big 2-liter. No, I don't want a 2-liter lemonade tonight. I'm going to be a real asshole to the planet. I want those airplane cans of apple juice, right? When you order apple juice on an airplane, they give it to you in a can. So I want my vegan pizza and I want my apple juice and I want a Snuggie stitched to a blanket and I want to watch Harry Potter. So treat me like that. Yeah, treat me like I don't have to go out and be Superman or superhero. And then I'll tell you when I'm good and goddamn ready to go do something good. But the other side of it is when you do show up to financial planning courses or whatever, it's not about, the thing is, it's not about asking if you're an idiot for going. It's about asking at what point you stop asking questions because you're just going to be told you're an idiot for doing what you're doing. And so what kind of system is this? What kind of system, what group of people in your worldview make this and then they say it works and then it stops working and they just never fix it, right? It's good enough. It's good enough, or we don't have tools to live within the system we built where you're either not allowed to be an idiot or you're not allowed to ask questions or else you become an idiot. Doesn't make sense. I'm so bricked up. You scarily look like my uncle. Hey, I didn't know your uncle's got an 8-inch dongus. Your uncle, right? Your uncle frequents Franco Stromboli's in Brunswick, New Jersey. No, I'm just kidding. That's cool. Yeah, I didn't know your uncle smoked meth. It's me. It's 1:21 a.m. I am in India. Cool. Shout out to India. What's going on? What's up, Dank? Bro, do you need money? Hey, I'd ask for some money. If you guys want to send some super chats, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. But yeah, you guys can send me money. I recommend, guys, we've got El Nino coming, right? We've got El Nino. It's supposed to be worse this year because of climate change. I live in the Southwest United States. I live in Arizona, which is by Sonora, Mexico. It's by Baja, California. These are areas deeply affected by El Nino. We see these tragic events, like, in my view, how else do you see it? Wildfires, drought, famine, right? We see these water crises emerging. How else do you see it? But anyway, yeah, and everybody leaves. All these little bitch boys don't know how to deal with hard situations. And so yeah, but we've got El Nino. The season El Nino is coming. The season El Nino is coming, right? And yeah, and so whatever. But yeah, my point is that what did you say? You said something to me. I'm already forgetting what I'm supposed to be saying. You asked if I need money. Go give money to charity. Why would I need money if I look like me? Ha 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 ha. Do I need some money? Give your money to charity. Why would I need money when I always look like me? And I can sing and I can't breathe. I come from Pakistan. I'm coming to America. Hey, what's going on, Lunch Wrap? Welcome. Welcome, my friend. Yeah, it's going to be good to see you here. Yeah, enjoy your time in Pakistan. Send Baluchistan my regards. Islamabad, my regards. And shout out to America. Yeah, absolutely. That's the best part of what you said. Shout out to America, my friends. I'm just kidding. Send money to a mosque. Cool. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you guys donate. I posted a video about not donating money to your church. No offense, right? I believe, there's people in the Islamic faith who do good things. And, in Western political thought, right? Political thought, tough idea, but we professionalize charities and corporates a little bit. So you can say that there are professional charities. They report on the impact delivered. And the thing you don't get out of that is, if you donate to a local mosque, a synagogue, a Christian church, you're not next to your money, right? You send it away. This is called checkbook activism. Checkbook activism. So you can support causes, political causes that you are passionate about. You don't have to be right next to it. But both are important. I think it's important, if they put up a website for you, who knows, just go drop the big 500. Just go, if you're in the US, if you haven't done that before, go drop the big 500, go drop the big 50, go drop the $100 you can't afford to a charity you care about. Horrible financial advice, right? But the best moral advice that I could give, or Peter Singer could give, go drop the money you can't afford, go drop the big 500 you can't afford. There's vegan animal rescue farms. They save animals from the slaughterhouse. You can look at NGOs and famine relief funds. There's everything. You can look at technical training for people, all kinds of stuff, different lobbies. I used to work for the Human Rights Campaign. I had a friend that worked for environment. It was called like the Environmental Action Committee or Environment Now. And he actually got a job from there. He went on to, I believe, I'm not trying to tell a story, but I think he went on to go sell solar energy to these giant commercial real estate companies in New York City. Yeah, so you guys can actually learn something when you donate money and when you get involved. Of the land to grow food, what stops them? The police using state-mandated violence. If all property relies on the threat of violence to keep people out, why is the state force moral when protecting a landlord's property, but immoral when protecting a worker's health care? Because the initial act of violence, the initial legitimizing, right? The word legitimacy is very important. If you're asking about, is the government legitimate, right? Legitimacy isn't just about the act. Legitimacy is about the government. It's not about the act, right? Legitimacy is distinguished by being about, is the government legitimate? And so legitimacy comes from a constitution generally focused on individuals. So you have economic property rights. So the government would be illegitimate, in fact, if it was incapable of protecting those individual rights that were laid out. And that's it. That's the end of it. But yeah, I don't know if I see the question the same way as you do, but that's the most I could say about that as well. USA, I'm coming. Good to see you as well. Legitimacy comes from, blah, 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 blah. No, good to see you, Brenda. It's been a while. I'm happy to see you here. It's been good bouncing in you, seeing you around places and the whatnot. If you guys, I don't know, Brenda, if you have a channel you want me to plug or anything like that, Brenda's one of the most well-educated and I think one of the nicest people that actually gets up there. She sits her butt down in front of the camera in whatever debate discussion panel, and will defend her viewpoints and defend viewpoints a lot of people get value from. So good to see you. Yeah, I know who you are. I bumped into you. Yeah, we meet in the oddest of places. The oddest and strangest of places. Yeah. How funny is that? I smothered my iPad in a tub of lotion while watching the Knicks. While watching, I don't know what that is. I don't know what TS is, but that's dope. Yeah, cool. Yeah. If you guys, if anybody's struggling with a form of online addiction to online, this is obviously not a mental health channel or something like this. But yeah, being able to break out of that sort of initial impetus that, I need to check my phone, need to log in, need to go to this site or that site, whether could be anything, right? It could be sports betting. It could be, whatever your favorite, you're a connoisseur of Neapolitan pizza or something like this, right? So just toning, getting that sort of, first kick out, those little 5-minute nudges that I don't need to be online. I don't need to be online here. I can go lay down. I can just put something on TV, something like that. What? I don't know. Sorry. I'm in my zone up here, Chief. Do you think a millionaire is in Duck's chat? Yeah, I mean, if one of you is a millionaire, I would. Yeah, if one of you is a millionaire, um, I would say, like I said, the big thing is that yeah, $500, a big $500 means something huge to a lot of people. The big pattern of a $500, yeah, a big pattern of a $500 means a lot to a lot of different people. And yeah. So like I said, you're a millionaire or a billionaire, you can send me that big 4.99 red super chat. Take care of me for the month. You can go donate that and double it to your favorite charities, favorite animal rescue farms, favorite NGOs, whatever it is. Those are all good things, I guess. Yeah. I'm addicted to trying to see how many hot dogs I can fit in my mouth. Cool. Good luck with that. If the alternative to working for a boss is starvation, that choice actually voluntary or is it structural blackmail? Could be either, right? I think one of the maybe one way that we cut it. This is interesting. I'll come back to this in a second, Cameron. Sorry. But yeah, one interesting about Brenda's point is that I do think that in contract theory, we cut ourselves a little bit, maybe. We cut ourselves, and maybe it's the case that my perspective is that when we talk about an original position, we talk about a state of nature, we say, well, because we are competing, because we are engaging in discerning forms of politics already, even prior to society, it is the case that we are accepting that society is anthropomorphized, right? We are accepting that some aspect of our natural values come along and some just don't. And maybe this is mysterious. Maybe we don't know which it is. And so we see theorists like Locke, we maybe see theorists like Rousseau, not just sometimes posting atrocious ideas or scenarios to the feminist mindset, but we also see them perhaps offering unsatisfactory solutions to a political problem. And you can ask why this is. And so I always wonder who's going forward. But yeah, if the alternative for working for a boss is starvation, is that choice actually voluntary or is it structural blackmail? Um, uh, yeah, if the alternative for working for a boss is voluntary or is it structural blackmail? It depends, right? It appears like it is to me, I would say it's a form of it looks like some form of intersectional grievance. More so, it looks more like analogous to like some intersectional grievance than it does, right? Than it does like some substantive injustice that can be addressed, right? It's really unfair. It is really unfair when you have to go to work. Your job actually makes you stupider. Okay, cool. I understand that. Your job doesn't let you use your brain. I understand that. Your job makes you work too many hours. I understand that. Your job makes you show up for 16 hours a day. Press the button, monkey, right? Your whole body and mind is shaped around this task. Okay, cool. I understand that. And then to say that this kind of one of the things that's different is in blackmail, what do? You go to the police, right? It's just the case that in a work scenario, you have to go conduct politics. You have to trust that there's reciprocity, that someone else in that society is going to represent your voice and your interest. And so the reason I would reject the starting point of the question, I think it's worth deconstructing and reconstructing, but I don't think it's an accurate framing. I think it's an incredibly biased framing that assumes what you believe a human is. Yeah. And so to me, the greater injustice is that your system of interpreting human nature, of interpreting what a human is incorrect, right? It's just incorrect. I think that's also because I'm saying that that's a very big assertion toward you, which means that I would be subject to criticism for it, and you would be subject to criticism for it. But we often see online debaters, debate tactics, seemingly just make other people try to assume they know what a human is, and you don't know what that is, even if they are in fact dumb people. They're dumb human beings. Yeah. Capitalism is just a small step up from feudalism. If it is involuntary, is that feudalism? Cool. Ideally, capitalism offers a lot more mobility. Yeah, I like that. Human is too nice a word. Too nice a word. Golden Chatter says, Black guys. Hey, what's going on, Golden Chatter? Good to see you. I'm addicted to seeing how many hot dogs I can fit in my mouth. That's cool. I got a black cup of coffee here. Oh man. Oh boy. Human is too nice a word. Human is too nice a word. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We are humans though, right? This is constructed nature would say, this is a little different, right? The magical, dreamy thinking of John Locke says we're tabula rasa, we're somewhat of a blank slate. This is biologically inaccurate, so to me, it's good enough to reject John Locke, to say that, yeah, well, human development disproves John Locke's perspective. This perhaps shows that John Locke is more patriarchal in ideological sense or a philosophical sense. It also perhaps demonstrates that John Locke lacks more of the sort of foundations of his own thought than others suppose. And you wonder why it is, but yeah, it was because John Locke was as a philosopher, from a philosophy, if you were in a school department, you should say John Locke was a religious extremist relative to his thought. Yeah, John Locke was a religious extremist. He cut off any possibility of having a discussion about metaphysics or the nature of reality outside of his worldview. He cut off the ability of you to have epistemology, therefore, or to have seemings about that, to have any sort of sense of why it matters if what we're saying in the first place is true. So he maybe assumes, you would make this charitable. This is how philosophy works. You say John Locke said what he actually said was that, for some reason we have natural law, which is part of God's kingdom, and then you have right. This creates natural rights, and this is what goes into a constitution. But this is all of God. And so you could say, well, what John Locke does is he appropriates his metaphysics into a constructed political social reality, meaning we don't have the same two rules here. This is a really difficult idea for people to grasp. There's two different sets of rules, meaning that we would normally do metaphysics or epistemology or theology around this other idea. But in social contract theory, we don't want to do that. We don't want to do metaphysics oftentimes. We oftentimes don't want to take a sort of a whole hog approach, so to speak, about about how we know things. Who is the person that knows something? What is it that they have that they know that we ought to believe it? We can continue to know it, right? We can continue to know it, and so we don't. Maybe it is the case that these are the same thing, or how someone reaches that conversation. It's never happened literally on all times on Earth, or it has. But yeah, and so this does look like religious extremism. It also looks like, the starting point and what can be said about constructed reality is severely truncated. It's just truncated at the end of it. It's just truncated at the end of it. Whatever. People know this though. People know this. I wonder how many, especially in positions of power or wealth, actually experience some form of personality disorder or maladaptive nature, i.e. sociopathy, psychopathy. It seems like a lot, when you have leaders that are only capable of recognizing some too high up sort of political objective, it gets pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Who knows? I don't really want to bite off more of that one. What's the meaning of the Nike shoe behind you? They're shoes I had in my garage. Yeah. I received lots of gifts. Yeah. My OnlyFans subscribers, right? I've got beautiful women, aged 45 through 85 that send me gifts based on my OnlyFans page. Yeah. So when you send me a sneaker, and you subscribe to my OF page, I put the shoe behind me. Yeah, I put the shoe behind me. Yeah, absolutely. You guys know what it means. I put the shoe behind me. Hell yeah. Let's go. I put the shoe behind me. Hey, thanks so much, Hacker. Appreciate you. Yeah, likely a narcissist. Yeah. So when we think of what the psychological effects of narcissism might port over to a philosophical method, a person who someone would accuse of being a narcissist may be incapable of reaching a conclusion or introducing evidence outside of their own worldview. So you might say that they're unlikely to be charitable, or have conducted enough critiques of their own position, criticisms of their own position, in order to support the ideas that we have out in front of us. Yeah. So, yeah. And so, you know, the one accusation might be is that if somebody has too much ego, like let's just say somebody's being egotistical with their ideas, we might say everything's going to be surface level. Everything's going to be very surface level, and that's fine. It is fine to do surface level politics, surface level philosophy. But that's also not the task of professional philosophers. You know, I'm not a professional philosopher, but we would know that at some point we're going to run out of steam. There's going to be no place next to go. The car is not going to work anymore. I once read 80% of CEOs are qualified as psychopaths. I don't know how they came to that number or anything, though. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. No idea. Happy birthday to President Trump. Oh, is it Donald Trump's birthday? Let's look this up. Donald Trump birthday. Oh, wow. He recently celebrated his 80th birthday. Happy 80th birthday, Mr. President. Yeah. Happy 80th birthday, President Donald Trump. Yeah, happy 80th birthday. Cool. Good for him. Good for him. Congrats, man. I don't know how you did it, right? 80 years, 80 whole. I don't know how you did it, man. Congratulations. 80 years. Congrats. I mean, you're dealing with lives as major corporations. You have to be, yeah. But big corporations like healthcare systems, if I were to defend this, you'd say, well, you know, your payers, the reason we price insurance and healthcare in the US the way it is because you still expect graduates from top schools who've had successful residencies, who are also deeply informed, right? You're expecting these 140 IQ people to be deeply informed about the benefits of becoming a care provider, either at their own practice or with someone else. And you also would be expecting them to be aware of the world's leading or whatnot clinical, you know, whether it's affordable or not, you're giving them the best clinical treatment possible, and you're able to in normal person land, right? Unless you're going to Mayo Clinic or Barrow or something like this. But you would expect that this is all deeply evidence-based, right? It's deeply evidence-based. It's based on not just experience, but also their. So even payer companies in the United States or as major corporations, like just as a healthcare example, you know, you're expecting on the whole system to do the lift. And this it's not meant to be minimizing what healthcare is. Yeah, it's just the choice a bunch of dumb fucking people made. So. Life begets logic. Your thoughts on this? Life begets logic. Logic does not beget life. So life begets logic. Logic does not beget life. Life begets logic. Logic does not beget life. Yeah, it's interesting. So it's a very beautiful statement. Perhaps it's suggesting that you're suggesting in a philosophical sense two things, right? You're asking us to consider that a person is the one who reasons, so ontology. So I think I would be safe assuming ontology is what you believe to be at the core of metaphysics. And then the second part is that logic does not beget life, is that, you know, this relationship, you know, the relationship of what logic produces can and should be perennial, right? It can and should be perennial in some sense. And so basically saying that, well, all of the products of logic are not equal or something, or that we have to take the products of logic as a life to be self-referential and produce something outward. Yeah, maybe I have PTSD from being on the internet, but it looks like presuppositional bullshit, right? That's what it looks like. It looks like presuppositional bullshit. And I could be wrong. Who knows? Maybe, you know, if you are, you know, you're flying the Spanish flag or something like this. I don't know. Maybe you are. Maybe you're not. But yeah, it could be. You know, it could be a more idealized or phenomenalized view of what reality is. But it looks like presuppositional bullshit. Yeah, it looks like it's a way to reduce the complexity of the terms we use in philosophy who knows if there's a lever to it, reducing the complexity in order to just talk about nonsense, things that don't exist in reality, you know? The majority of logic that actually exists in the world in brains and bodies is unusable. It's completely unusable. Logic is one of those fields where there are people that publish papers that can be read coherently by less than 100 people. And then you also, the adjacent problem is not that this is what the universe must be like, and who knows, you need 300 IQ people to preserve material views that think in terms of logic and material. But the additional problem that this would face is also that you run into other idealized systems which hold to belief. So you run into mathematics, and you could say, well, why, if mathematics does produce both physics, mathematics does produce predictions in physics, so one of the strongest forms of priors we ought hold to, and this should be accepted. This is usually accepted by, let's say, 90% of philosophers. 90% of philosophers say this isn't a totality, but I do know what it means, right? It's not a totality, but I know what it means. So where does logic come from? Logic is a universal. How could a finite being create logic without contradiction? How it's BS to examine our beliefs. Cool. Yeah. So, universal, I would say, is another term that is, I would accuse you of using, of claiming to use syntax in order to create grammatical spaces where you can discuss the same things repeatedly on the internet. Yeah, that's what I think that would be. Lego CEO fell away off. Oh man, I haven't done Legos. I collect basketball cards. That's my internet dweeb stuff, is I collect basketball cards. I've got my cool lithographed Harry Potter book and stuff behind me, and yeah. 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 And so this is largely why I think if you've just not been curious, why is it the case that someone like Andrew Wilson or Jim Bob, if you guys are talking about debates, they've literally never talked to a smart person. They talk to other dumb people. The reason they talk to other dumb people and the smart people that they talk to or use for their audience, use dumb people language, is because they themselves hold to dumb beliefs, right? They themselves hold to dumb beliefs. They use dumb practices, right? They're not academic. They're not scholastic. Their ideas would not be accepted at top universities. They depend on Philbros to philosophize about their ideas, which are very surface level, right? They create these and this is you should be skeptical of this. Your belief creates a long tangent. Your belief creates a long tangent into something only you believe, and it also appears to correspond to identity, right? This long tangent what a great space for social media. Long tangent. It's all identity politics, identity doing the priors, identity doing the debates, and then nothing else can ever be defined in a scholastic sense. Maybe you are right. Who knows? Maybe the donkey that Jesus rode in on Palm Sunday was also right. Who knows? Did the donkey believe the same things? Who knows? I don't know what world that is. What is smart to you? Smart is nice, right? Smart is being nice. Smart is being able to say, wow, it's somebody else's idea. Smart is being able to consider what they said on your own terms. And smart is also about the timing of it, right? The smart is also about the timing of it. Knowing that maybe today is a great day for where your brain is at metabolically, where you are at metabolically, to ask a question and be patient, right? Nice big frontal lobe, these functions in our head that help us consider things more slowly. Hey, what's going on, Dan? Consider things more slowly. So, and then smart is also the people you meet when you're in the world that are just smarter than you, right? That's the other definition of, if you want a very common sense definition of smart. I had a friend in high school, right? I'm not telling their life story, but I had one friend in high school. He went to the top private school. He didn't go to the same school as me. He went to the top private school in the state. He ended up going to Harvard for his undergrad and then ultimately doctorate and postdoctoral research. I had another friend who got like one of the highest scores on the MCAT in the country. He went to MIT. I had another friend who went to study, it was physics or engineering at UPenn. Another friend that went to, yeah, cool. Welcome to where I'm from. I had another friend who went to George Washington on a pretty prestigious program for a pre-law in political science or policy or something like that. I had another friend who, yeah, like me, he had we didn't have the Ivy League path, but he ended up going on to doing his undergraduate and graduate degree in philosophy. Yeah, I had other friends that just went on adventures. I had another friend got hired at Google. Another friend ended up working for private investment and hedge funds. He also had I think he went to Duke for business. So when you ask about what smart is, there's also just people that are way smarter than you, right? It's not just that they had the opportunity, but out of a school, I went to a school that had 2,000 students in high school after my Catholic schooling. And yeah, there's 200 out of 2,000, there's 200 people who are just smarter than you. They're smarter than me. So just saying that, yeah, there's that mysterious level of functioning brains just also works, right? That doesn't mean that they're politically or socially dominant. Doesn't mean that they're economically dominant unless you want to say that's what that means, right? It's a meritocracy. It's a meritocracy. That's correct. Yeah, that's absolutely right. It is a little bit of a meritocracy. That only shows finance instability. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Yeah, no, it doesn't, right? Yeah, and absolutely, right? The fact that just if the other definitions of intelligence means that, who knows, maybe you're insanely curious or passionate, or you're very persistent, you're very skeptical and you reject ideas and have to redefine those terms in a way that makes sense to you before using them. So you're very reserved or standoffish. Even another smart person characteristic, you're introverted or extroverted, right? We're not going all the way into Freudian psychology, but yeah, as an introvert, you know when you're listening, when people are saying things that don't make sense, and you also are observing. You're able to maybe observe and understand what's going on. As an extrovert, who knows? Maybe you're very bullish in progressing the conversation. And yeah, you have to learn from that too, right? So your EQ, like this is my own thing. My own EQ is about, hey, I'm not always right. I don't always know something, right? I'm a piece of shit. Divide and conquer is working pretty well. Cool. Yeah, electricians. Yeah. I've also got HVAC people in my family. I've got Chicago cops in my family. I've got hardware salespeople in my own family, right? Got restaurateurs and venture capitalists in my family. I got, so what do you want? I've got people with criminal records in my family. I don't know. What are you asking about? What are you asking about? I'll take money over a worthless degree. Cool. Yeah, I don't know why you have to see that. To me is a sign of lacking intelligence, right? To me, that's lacking intelligence, is that you have to take and give away, right? You're putting cigarette MW certainly is here, right? Nobody would say cigarette MW is not here. And so you have to take and say, I'll take the money. I'll take the money over a worthless degree. And now I've got to take away from somebody else, right? You have a college degree. Who knows? I have no clue what any of you are doing, but it's worthless to me. So it's a worthless degree. Yeah. So that to me is a sign of lacking intelligence. It's also a sign of cruelty, right? It's likely a sign that in my view, I think that you would be irresponsible and be willing to abuse people given that the circumstances came up, right? It's not a grifter. It's just saying that's what that is. That's not a nice thing to say. Isn't the healthiest, but I have a question. Cool, ask a question. I'm having trouble choosing. Would you rather get the ultimate with 7-piece jalapeno or 2 tacos and 3-piece jalapenos? I would, as someone who used to, in my former life, I would go with the diversity. I would say junior bacon, 2 tacos, and 3-piece jalapenos, large curly fry. And yeah, in my former life as a vegan, I would say You can also not get any of that if you're able to, or tomorrow you can just not get any of that, right? Tomorrow you get the other one. Tomorrow go to Arby's. Tomorrow don't get any of it. But yeah, go for a short walk. Have a cup of water, right? I don't know if water is your bitch, but you can use water as a hack to keep your stomach full. A little dash of salt, and you're good to go. How so? You can also start your own business. Right, yeah, but when you say those things, I think you're being condescending, right? You're telling people that the goal is to start a business and then own a portfolio of real estate businesses. And there's people, right? There's people that would say, well, I wonder what all of that entails, right? A rational person would say, I wonder who the person is that owns these businesses, once I own them. It's not about the good or the bad things, but it is what's the experience of owning those businesses. Yeah. And so Donald Trump's inspired people to think about automotive, think about coal, think about stocks, cryptocurrency, banks, right? He hasn't talked about going out and actually building something small that you understand and is defensible. You can build a defensible business because you have Google reviews, right? I do know this stuff. So, and I think you're talking to me like I might know some of this stuff. Yeah, but you can build a defensible business because you have Google reviews, because the foot traffic is good, and because your early marketing budget or something like that is going to be good enough to build a base of recurring businesses. And there's an availability of talent, right? So there's an availability where you're never just losing customers. You don't lose days, weeks, and months, and then literally you at some point you measure that the business is failing. And so cool, yeah, I understand that somebody could do that, but I also think that the fact that you're just assuming that it's good for me and not for anyone else, it seems like a very selfish perspective. And then so I wonder again what actually that type of entrepreneur is doing, right? Of course I can't know. Of course, yeah, go out on a tangent and run off and see all the crazy shit that you must say in order, right? You must be a crazy leftist. For me thinking that, no, you're probably just an unintelligent person who's very quickly going to own something, and you're going to own an asset that you don't know how to manage and you don't know what the asset is. Yeah. So I would say how so you can start your own business. I would say learn about asset classes, right? This isn't a finance channel. It is not a finance channel if it's your first time here, but learn about asset classes. What is an equity, right? What is an equity based on? What is debt? What are different debt instruments? Where do they exist in the marketplace? What's the difference between various classes of real estate? What about real estate funds? What's the difference that these are based upon? What does that tell you about the world, right? You can basically recreate that finance degree and actually know what you're doing and talking about. But then you're also, right, if you're talking about starting a business that's based on goods or services, you're also talking about, at some point you're talking, and you're talking about microeconomics. So you're talking about how your pricing and the value you provide is competitive. And what's that based on, right? When does it not become a shell game? When is it not a scam? You're also talking about macroeconomics, and you also know this. So again, I think it's condescending. I think it's condescending because you want to define these things, but you're not going to talk about the values because I fucking know you, right? I know you. I've met you. You've paid me to help grow your business before. You've paid me, people that you would look to for inspiration have paid me to grow many businesses before. So I think the level of stupidity that you're not Best Buy. You're not Best Buy. You're also not like Roto-Rooters or something, some regional franchise business. You're also not Pulte. You're not, whatever it is. You're not Donald Trump's new director of national intelligence, whose dad was a home builder. You're not the Fultons. You're not private equity. So you're none of these things. And yet the thing that you're going out and doing, right? I'm not saying have irrational reverence, but if those things are worthy of criticism or ignorance or irrational reverence, and you yourself are not, but you act like it, well, you do act like it, and so you're not living in reality. That's a delusional thing to say, right? So, and yeah, go out on the tangent, right? Go out on this fucking tangent where, of course, it's somebody else is a leftist or just doesn't get it, or they support meritocracy and tech elites and tech oligarchy, when in fact the reality is, no, that person is a fucking dumb human, right? That is a dumb person. That is one of the dumbest people I've ever met. That's one of the most selfish people I've ever met. And that person consistently in their life has made trade-offs where they're willing to treat people poorly for their own benefit. Yeah, that's the reality of it. So there you go. If that's not you, we're not talking. But if that is you, that's the conversation, right? That's the other tangent. So start a business. Cool. Yeah, start a business and go have a lifetime of those conversations. Yeah, start a business, go have a lifetime of those conversations. How's Elon Musk's first trillionaire? It's very stupid, I think. Yeah, it's very stupid. Who knows? Yeah, we've got to figure out how corporates that are advancing telecommunications, advancing space exploration or something like this, and space missions can have $1 trillion, right? How things like EV, which were not the big, have not shown themselves, and I don't know what world it is where EV saved the planet, but these sort of platforms and programs create $1 trillion. So yeah, we have work to do. Yeah, there's work to be done. And yeah, I don't think Elon Musk's, if you meant it, right, you would know there's people that'll invite you back, and those are the real helpers right now. Maybe the real helpers are the ones that say, yeah, there's work to be done, and you've been invited back months ago, right? Fuck you, and you're invited back, right? So, hey, thanks, Panelverse. Good to see you. Bitcoin. I don't understand. I think Bitcoin is another shell game. It's another shell game. Bitcoin is just another thing that you build, and ultimately millionaires and billionaires are going to get more out of it than you are. So you're going to have some people that see that and want to become the millionaires because it benefits them, right? Because it benefits you and because it benefits them. And then you're still you still want to make slaves other people. You want some form of feudalism where either people that had less than you to begin with, they're not humans, maybe, right? Vegan perspective, Peter Singer, or they know more than you, right? You're going to be depending on other people to solve your problems, and you're not paying your fair share, right? You are unwilling to work. You're unwilling to go do anything else, most likely, on the whole, right? And so, unless, whatever, you're not a statistical category. I get it. You're a person, but in what sense, right? Is everything else a statistical category, but you're not? That doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me. To me, the math doesn't pan out on that. And to me, this is also condescending towards what the fuck I care about, right? So, like, if you want to be good in the eyes of the Lord, if I was a mafia boss about the economy, a mafia boss about democracy, I'm the real Teflon Don or something like this, I would say, well, yeah, I'm gonna teach you, like, I'm gonna treat you like, you're some kind of, I'm gonna treat you like you're some kind of, you can imagine, you just, I don't know, who knows. You just for the first time discovered that the Denny's Grand Slam can have eggs and bacon on it or something like that. And so it's like, cool, yeah, I'll talk to you like that then, right? That's who you are. Yeah, no, I get it. That's awesome, right? I'm going to watch you make all this fucking money. But I'm going to tax that fucking ass for days. I'm going to tax that fucking ass again for days. And that's just how reality is, right? That's unfortunately, that is just how reality is. Yeah. Unfortunately, that is just how reality is. I'll tell you, it doesn't take more than 30 hard days. If you have a lot of money, it doesn't take more than 30 hard days to get to know something. And so the fact you're unwilling to do that, I would say demonstrates that, yeah, the crypto shell game is bad. Online sports betting, it's not good. And yeah, our reliance and faith in artificial intelligence, not good. Our reliance on technology, not good. You have to make it so it's good, right? These things are practical truths. They're not actual truths. That's what money is. Money is a practical truth. It's not an actual truth. And you're going to be hard pressed to find somebody that's got religious devotion to economics, religious devotions, who's successful, who's still successful. Seize the means of production. Late stage capitalism. Give the robots an AI. Yeah, let these robots cut them off the leash. We've got those new DoorDash robots in Arizona. DoorDash has these little robots. They're really not that big. Probably in actuality, I know you can't see me, but they're probably only about this big, yay big. Not quite arm stretches. Not you don't have to be Stretch Armstrong to pick one up. But these things will go out. They'll pick up your food. They drive in the bike lanes. On the road. and they'll drop they will drop food off on the side of the road. They'll drop food off at your house. So you order DoorDash, no waiting for a driver. You can just say, hey, DoorDash fulfills this one. And they'll do the little beep beep, and somebody from the store must come out based on the application window, and they must come out and tell you that the DoorDash robot is there. The DoorDash robot or something is there. And and so you'll have all kinds of telemetry. Telemetry is the word for, who knows, maybe you have GPS data, analytic data based on this, not that, based on this, not that. And it'll drop off stuff at your house, right? So very cool product, very cool product. Interesting. Somebody said, hey, this is the next thing we fucking need. Yeah, these dumb robots that are gonna, hey, I don't know. Somebody's asking me about food, and so there's the one we got. Data centers being set up in India is crazy because people in my country, India, don't give a darn about the environment. Yeah, it makes sense. There's been some small coverage, but yeah, the amount people care in the US too is about the same. You get one or two stories about Facebook or Microsoft data centers, giant companies, right? You know, Facebook, I think. Yeah, Meta, Microsoft, Google data centers, they open up, and yeah, it takes a long time, or it's hard to get commitments on. It is hard to get commitments on the environmental impact, trying to create these zero dimension sort of data centers, right? If you think in terms of zero dimensions, what's really wrong, right? Does that mean that you're not allowed to go do what you want to do? No, but yeah, we have, I think people would agree that we've got skin in the game, that these are not, absolutely not zero dimension projects. The fact that, if we cannot be ambitious about that, and you're saying you're going to rely on lawyers and economic property law and lobbies in order to go forward and build data centers, right? And build data centers, and we agree on that. We have to be ambitious elsewhere. We have to be ambitious elsewhere, and the fucking fact it's simple doesn't mean that it's complicated, right? It does mean that it's fucking simple. It's that simple. What do you say when you don't know what's going on? Nobody cares, right? Nobody asks. Nobody cares what you know or don't know when you don't know what's going on. But you just say, yeah, that's simple truth right there. It hits the spot, right? It gives me the warm tinglies inside, and it tells me that I'm gonna go fuck myself once again for some period of time. So I don't know why else we'd be talking, right? Why else would I care what Mark Zuckerberg thinks or Elon Musk thinks if I'm not gonna go fuck myself? Doesn't make sense. To overthrow Citizens United, we would have to overthrow the government. That's I don't know if that's true, right? You could repeal Citizens United. You could just vote in a democracy. You could very simply vote in a democracy too. Yeah. Yeah, if you're Elon Musk and you're watching, announce yourself with a $4.99 super chat. You got cash, bro. You got cash right now. Don't you have money right now, I thought? Yeah, isn't that what it was? It was something like that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it was, but you do have cash, right? So $4.99 red super chat. Get your boy Duck up on one. I was looking at an eGPU. I was looking at buying external graphics cards so I can start mining Bitcoins. I want to start mining Bitcoins. That's what I want to do with my life. All right, guys, we are at an hour 08. The poll question is, this is the poll question. Which is the most true or disgusting or wow? 56% say Karl Marx, 26% say Hegel, 9% say Lacan, 9% say Gramsci. So that's the point of the poll. Yeah, that's the point of the poll. What's going on, Casey, man? Good to see you. Hopefully you're having a great day. Yeah, hopefully you're having a great day. Oh. Jesus Christ is the one true God and the way to repent. Jesus molested a flock of pigs with mentally ill people. And he got kicked out of the city for doing this. So that's who I think you're talking about. I don't know why. I would need to morally consider and help that person, but I would not call that person a savior. Yeah, I would not say that person is a savior. Yeah, he was overtaken by the Spirit. Next thing you know, he's whole hog and a whole hog. with these other guys. And so that's the reality of that situation to Tommy and to who is the other one? Who is the other person? To Tommy and to Cassie. Yeah. Hey, what's going on, India? Yeah, whole hog and a whole hog. There's Jesus Christ. There's the Western Savior. Yeah, right? Western Savior. Viva la Revolution, right? Another interesting trait of fascists is they anthropomorphize things in strange ways that we understand. You could talk about Mussolini thinking society must be like an organism, and he doesn't understand it, but he does. You can talk about Che Guevara, violent, sociopathic, genocidal communist leader in Latin America. He thought that capitalism was like a cancer. It's like a cancer, right? Yeah. So brilliant doctor, genius IQ guy. Okay, cool. Yeah, Che's a smart guy. I'm a dummy, right? I don't know as much as this guy would. I don't know what he's talking to these people at the UN about, but he says dumb stuff still, right? And so, it's interesting to me when we look at the whole hog Jesus guys in the US or Donald Trump. It's like, yeah, are you smuggling in one of these irrational beliefs? Are you smuggling in a view that what humanity or society is, what society can be, is like something that it's not, right? It's just magical. It's full of laws, right? It's laws, but not jurisprudence. If it's not jurisprudence, then what is it, right? What is it if it's not jurisprudence? I mean, currently I'd call capitalism a cancer. Do you know why people are upset? Okay, cool. Tell me more. Yeah, go on. Go on. You mean what is capitalism? You mean when he put the Demon Legion into mini pigs, right? Honestly, what does that have to do with him taking a hog? No, that's not what happened, right? That's not what happened. Historically, what actually happened was the person who was tormenting and torturing crazy people, and then wanted to cover up their crime of going whole hog into the hog, drove the hogs into the sea, right? So that's what actually happened. Yeah, that's what actually happened. And then they kicked him out for it. So you're saying what you want me to believe is that these people who had these dead graped pigs kicked Jesus out for curing them of demons. They said, we're afraid of you. You should have great fear of this man. Get on a boat and leave. These guys said you were torturing them. And so what actually happened in that story, right? If you're a skeptic, if you have a functioning brain, you would say, no, Jesus definitely went, he asked these crazy people, he said, you guys want to have a little fun? Let's crank down on these hogs, right? Let's crank down on these hogs. We're going to commit a great, great crime, right? Horrible crime against a being that is like us. And so Jesus molested these pigs. Jesus encouraged these mentally ill schizophrenics who were playing with animal feces and dead bodies. He tortured them into also going whole hog into whole hogs. And then he got kicked out, right? He got kicked out of the city for it. And he said, yeah, this guy's got to go. This guy is too crazy for us to do anything with, right? So the heroes of that story are the people that did not legally prosecute. Yeah, Richie, once again, I'm D. Donato. Hey, I'm a former Catholic. Jesus is Lord, right? As a former Catholic, I would say there's no questions about it, right? Jesus is Lord, okay? But the fact is that Lord also one time went whole hog and a hog. Yeah, there you go. See, just says it, right? How would you know? Any questions? Richie, what do you know? Right? What do you know? Yeah, it's in both Luke and it's in the book of Matthew, right? It's not the book of Mark. It's not the book of Mark. Yeah. So, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, very strange. Very strange you don't know this. You claim to be a Christian. You know all the other stuff, right? We've got these historians. We got real historians, real philosophers, real theologians, real apologists. And yet you don't know the story about the time that Jesus, what was it? He molested a pig. Yeah, that's what he did. So you look like you don't love yourself. Come on, buddy. Shave, comb your hair, brush them teeth. Yeah, Mark, you also got to go read that story about Jesus getting all the way into it. That's all we're talking about today. Yeah, another one. Really? That's crazy. You don't see it how I see it. That's wild, man. I wouldn't have thought. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought. Yeah, you got to reread those two gospel books. You got to reread those two books. You got to reread it. Yeah. 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 So from my perspective, if you actually take the interpretation to be what it means, that is the most probable, that is to me the most probable, or it is a prior that is more likely than Jesus banishing demons, right? And so I'm surprised you don't see things, right? I would think that you understand Bayes. Not only do you use Bayes frequently, but you understand Bayes. Where or who said he did any of that? Where or who said he did any of that? Yeah. So this would be exegesis, right? This would be exegesis based on just what's written in the book. Yeah. Yeah. I think you should run back to Matt Dillahunty and Derek Mythguy, though. Yeah, I think you should run back to your favorite atheist channels and find theists to beat up. Yeah, to have a really great discussion with, right? So you're stepping on something you don't know what it is. You're doing Reddit atheism right now, and it's embarrassing for you and it's embarrassing for everyone else. Please stop. Yeah, please just stop. Please stop. I like Alex O'Connor better. I don't think that's true. Yeah, I don't think that's true. I think you like your smartphone better. Yeah, that's the most I could say to you is I think you like your smartphone better. Yeah. What's your opinion on mind control, where they study mind control since the 60s? Imagine now. No clue. I'm eating applesauce again. I was in Sunday school today. Cool. I'm sorry. Cool. Hopefully you got some value out of it. I was raised Catholic, so I had a religion class every day for 4 years. I had yeah, and I had a church on Sundays. I went to church on Sundays. For a lot of my childhood, I did the Spirit program, which is in the U.S. at least. It's the youth program for Catholics. Spirit programs. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think there's any evidence of mind control. No evidence of mind control. So, yeah. Yeah. Cool. Cool. Okay. So, what's your opinion of the vitamin D that we get from the sun? Okay, cool. Yeah, congratulations. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it's, I think because I'm not a medical doctor, so you're asking about a hormone or you're asking about metabolism or something like that. I don't think it's controversial to think that our modern lifestyles don't have all of the experiences or health benefits that just a more natural lifestyle has. And so yeah. And so there's some balance between considering or using nutrition as a tool for longevity. And yeah, this is, when we say that this is true, right? There's clinical evidence that nutrition or dietary guidance or exercise or outside time, these are all things that have clinical benefits, right? I think as a person, your relationship to the doctor is saying that, well, I know how I feel. I know what's going on. I know how I spend my time when I'm not doing the things I should and what I'm doing when I'm not, right? And so I'm not a clinician. They are clinicians. These are evidence-based programs, evidence-based research. And so, yeah, I think if people adopted the same mindset of your doctor, that your doctor would prefer to prescribe you 400 or 200 milligrams of acetaminophen if they could versus 800, right? They don't. Your doctor would prefer to have you pick up an anti-inflammatory 800 milligram ibuprofen from the pharmacy, but they would even more so prefer that you don't have to do that. If that solves the problem, right? If that gives you the outcome that you desire. And so I think that, yeah, adopting a more holistic view is a good practice and it's not out of reach. Wow. Everything is made of plastic these days. Yeah. Chicken. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, my mind is sending data. Your opinion on current geopolitics and what do you think about Trump's policies, whether he is actually good for the US or he is just forcibly involving in the conflicts to rule out? Neither of those. Yeah, neither of those. He's actually good for the US. Yeah, I don't know what that would mean. Yeah, the US nation state. He's forcibly involving the conflicts uh, to rule out the allegations. Yeah, I don't know. That's yeah, so you're basically saying Donald Trump is stupider than he's stated to be. But my argument against that, is Donald Trump stated his neoconservative positions in the past, right? Make America Great Again is a slogan. It's sloganeering. It's a way to quote mine. It's a way to have 10,000 pieces of content on Truth Social, on YouTube, from Charlie Kirk, from Patrick Bet-David, from whoever it is, constantly working for you, right? That's what Make America Great Again is. But the geopolitical perspective of neoconservatism, interventionism, and really seeing violence as a tool to solve problems is something Donald Trump has stood by and advocated in books, on social media, and even prior to the presidency. So that's who got elected, right? The person who got elected is someone who's a violent, ill-informed, loudmouth, sensuous man, right? So he's a deeply feeling man who thinks he can use violence to solve his problems and other people's problems. Am I Amish? I don't know what that means. I don't know what it would mean to be Amish. I'm obviously not Amish. I have a microphone behind me. I've got books behind me. I've got all kinds of stuff, right? All kinds of stuff. How am I? I'm good. Hey, good to see you. Good to see you. Adjective noun guy. Cool. I love grammar though. I do love writing. Yeah, I actually I got more into this. I wrote a bunch. So I have the benefit of writing essays in college. Yeah, when you're in college, you write essays. And yeah, so 400 words or 5,000 word essay, whatever it is. Oh my God, 10,000 word thesis. So you have to assemble evidences and arguments and basically just keep the thing moving forward and up and down. Yeah, whatever. Not a huge ask, but there it is, right? There it is. That's what you're doing. So you're going to learn from it eventually if you're one of the chosen ones. But yeah, I learned semantics, semantic and linguistic stylings before grammar, right? But grammar is a lot of fun. Grammar is a lot of fun understanding how words and sounds are put together to assemble recognizable sentences that have meaning. Those are interesting. Flibberdogger right? Flibberdogger, right? I don't know if I said that right. The difference is some nations eat real food and some nations eat plastics, which clouds their judgment. Yeah. Yeah, nutrition and diet. Yeah. Hey, what's going on, Polygraph? Good to see you. Making it so Dems have a task that they might not be able to solve in one term. Trump Republicans are removing lawsuits against them, breaking more government programs. Yeah, I think this shows what happens with interventionism from the US is that if there is, who knows, maybe there's multiple moving points at the top. And so if you have multiple sort of compasses and multiple programs that you see as vitally strategic, we see Pete Hegseth, we see Markwayne Mullin. The one thing they say, which is revealing of how they actually feel, is these things that you can't reach, that are over your head. These are the things that are moving us forward. I think just one aspect of what this entails then is that you will be not only weakening institutions in order, you're paying for this with political capital in some place, you're paying it with money and political capital domestically and geopolitically. You are paying for this. And yeah, you pay for this with something that itself is a reason to not vote for Trump, such as weakening the independence of courts, weakening the binding nature of court rulings. In the US, historically, you say court rulings are binding and you can wait for the fucking appeals process if you don't like it. And this is just because this is what courts are here. So, yeah. And some people might say, well, in the first place, so I understand what a neoconservative is. I understand what a police action is. I understand when the United States is acting outside of Congress's approval. But when you go beyond and you do more, and you have to come back for more, and you didn't even start asking about those processes, well, now you're talking about Constitution, right? Now you're talking about rights. Now you're talking about economic IP law, right? You're talking about you're talking about everything at this point. And so this is a beautiful song. If this is the song that Ayn Rand sung, if you're a Buddhist, you would say this is the beautiful song that Ayn Rand taught the American people. She said, don't be a lawyer. You're an objectivist. You make up your own mind, right? You don't need to go sue people and tase them every time you don't disagree. You're an objectivist, right? And from the perspective of the progressive left, you wonder, right? I would say the Progressive Party, you wonder, well, you are so upset about America not having money for things, and you're so upset that our economic interests are not there. But when you get to the big one, right, and you guys know this is what reality is like, there will be a demand side or supply side measure at some point into the future. Can you afford it, right? What actually happens to consumer trust, to consumer debt, when you say the Fed's truly independent this month, right? The Fed's independent. And we're not doing bailouts. We're not doing any of this stuff. We're going to cut interest rates and we're going to let you guys figure it out, right? We're going to drop everything down. We're not going to fucking pay for anything for you guys. Figure it out. You guys know that this sometimes is politically not viable. It's just going to lead to a massive bounce back. And that's the system we live in. And so is there money for Keynesian programs? And so you say, well, who is Donald Trump making happy? It's people that want to own plumbing businesses and believe the United States is a giant Roto-Rooter, right? It's a giant Porta-John business. That's what it is. And it's a Porta-John business that can also, like the wise guy, Mafia Don, Teflon Don, it can drown its enemies, right? You can actually go out, and if you wanted to be that person, you could go, right? You could be the one. You can be all you can be and go do the things Donald Trump has been advocating for you to do since 1990. Against who? I don't know, against these place names, against these geographies, against what he sees as a beautiful place he thinks the United States should be more of. Nobody else has felt that way, but apparently, try lasting it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Hey, like I said, you guys want to get to know me? I've got HVAC in my family. I know all this stuff, right? So I'm okay with it. Even if it was, right, what does that mean? So the characteristic of fascism, the mis is nationalism doesn't realize nationalism. Nationalism is a characteristic of fascism. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's hugely important. When you see, I think, it's really weird, because we would expect and maybe even support, thank troops for their service. But hey, yeah, you're that guy, right? You're that guy. You don't hate military Uncle Sam. You're not upset about being indoctrinated for many, many years. You have a sweater, right? You've got the Army grade sweater. You got the lapel pin, these kinds of things. You're the most upright when the flag's played. And so we understand that, right? You have compatriots in society that want to support you for those reasons. It's very different when you see people that have both neither put in nor taken from the system suddenly believe in it, right? Suddenly believe in it, and you wonder why that is. To me, it's because that carries a lot more, because you start saying, well, look, if this, there is some big titty bitch, right? She's also the one, right? You're a big titty bitch, so you're that for America too, right? And it's just the case that the trolls on the left or the trolls on the right are going to be the ones who make sure you're doing your job. So you don't just get nationalism, right? But you get chauvinism. Why? Because there's nothing substantive. So what's available? Well, it's tribalism, right? It's tribalism. And so when you start putting together and you wonder how close fascism is to the state of nature, and you say, yeah, it's really close, right? But it is like an ill-considered or poorly considered state of nature argument. So you're not dumb, right? You have a Harvard degree to me, and so you're welcome here, right? And yeah, you're not a person who has opinions or ideas. You're a big titty bitch wearing some American flag lapel. It's crazy. It's crazy. John, I was talking to a question that was asked. yeah, the fact that you cannot, the fact you are not engaging with the topic or something like this. I'm not a teacher. I'm not like your God or something like that. But yeah, it appears to me that it's no one's problem except your own. Yeah. Yeah. Dems killed Lincoln, same party, they never changed. John, I'm going to time you out. If you want to talk to me, you can tag me at DucksY instead of being an asshole. Yeah. If you want to be distracting and make the focus me and you can tag me at DucksY. Hey, what do you think about Freemasonry? Cool. Yeah, I don't know. I don't believe in conspiracy theories. I don't believe that there's really mysterious narratives and arcs. I'm sure there's some cool stuff that's come out of Masonry, just given that it has been close to private institutions, given that it's been close to political bodies and things like this. And yeah, I'm very skeptical that just knowledge sharing alone without democratic activation, without activating people in order to behave democratically or not behave in a fascistic and nationalistic sense, both of these are good things. Yeah, both of these are good things. So do you know who came up with the term conspiracy theory? I have no idea. MK Ultra, always think about it. Come again. Hey, Duck. Hey, what's going on? Desi Musidin. Good to see you. No hate to anyone but MAGA. From who were there any mistakes which past governments did? Yeah, it's a good question. When we look at the actual grievances that are just generally there, it's surface level, but it's not, right? It shows that you have understanding, and it also shows that you've considered this in the past. But when we look at any conservative in any labor movement or any nationalist movement, any further left socialist or communist movement, right? And it doesn't have to be this great big deal, but if we just wonder what it produces, I think you'd be in good company wondering from the sort of baseline we consider in politics, and then on the edge cases, what mistakes are made, right? What mistakes are actually made by anyone? I think that's a really great question. It's a great question. And in the United States, we often think of citizens as outside of this, right? It's one of the problems that we confront. We have a praxis or a pragmatic American philosophy that you address expediency and failures in government, just what's convenient when you have to. I think in other places, something Americans should understand is, right, it is a little bit cultural and psychological, but in other places, when we see politicians failing, it's more logical maybe or faster to wonder for whom, right? For whom? And yeah, Donald Trump saying that the left or the right or whatever, they're good guys and bad guys. It's not just immature. It's not just immature, but it's rejecting that in a country as big as the United States, there is this pragmatic question, and you can go vote and don't have to make something to be something of everything. I guess, whatever. What are you going to do, right? What are you going to do? One bite, everyone knows the rules. Yeah, absolutely. Popularized is what matters. Cool. Get rid of them. Get them all out, right? Let's get them all out. Reading the brainwaves. Cool. Get them all out. Hey, Glurbo, good to see you again. Yeah, welcome back. Democratic Party has bad ideas. Cool. Yeah, thanks, Tom. Yeah, thanks for weighing in. Appreciate that. Yeah, appreciate it. Well, you can see charts for that on Google, and it's old enough. Left and right, two cheeks of the same ass. That's pretty funny. I like that one. That's funny to me. Yeah. Hey, appreciate that. Thanks for weighing in, Terry. Thanks for weighing in. Yeah. Cool. You can see charts for on Google. It's old enough if you believe it. Why Democrat or Republican? Yeah. Are you mentally well? I think that's what, yeah. Quote, are you mentally well? Quote. Why Democrat or Republican? Yeah, because they're the dominant choices, right? And some people would say you get candidates that you're excited about, and that's most typically what you vote for in a democracy. Yeah, that's how that works. So, so that's what I would say back to you, Rowan Austin. Yeah, Austin. That's how it works. Yeah. Oh, dang, they started limiting data on this. It's like turkeys voting for Christmas. Cool. Ducks, come on, you're American. If you speak for me one time, I'm going to permanently ban you from the channel. Next time you speak for me, I'm going to permanently ban you from the channel. And I would expect you come back and tell me any alts that you want to rejoin on, so I can ban those as well. Yeah. Both Republicans and Democrats are radical Zionistic terrorist supporters anyways. Yeah, cool. Yeah. Yeah, you know, I tell people I'm divorced twice. I'm getting my third divorce. And so, you know, this is just, I just don't understand why people in the world want to come out and now they want it right now. Now they're in your face. Now they're coming up from where they were, and they're finally telling you what you believed. Oh, I didn't know. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it this entire time. I couldn't believe it this entire time, right? That's crazy. That's absolutely wild. That's wild to me. Yeah, I had no clue. Wow, I had no idea. Amazing, right? Do you support ICE up in here? I don't know what you would mean by supporting ICE. The current administration, I think, it's an inflated budget that violates the Constitution. It's an inflated budget that doesn't just violate the Constitution. It's a criminality that, from my opinion, bumps into treason. You have falsified statements and conspiracy to cover up murder and attempted murder. That's admitted by the acting DHS secretary in congressional testimony, and a refusal to investigate, a refusal to wonder if this depth of misdeed actually does correspond to the things local law enforcement agencies investigate. And it is relevant. It is politically relevant. It's institutionally relevant when you have all across the United States local law enforcement officials saying, no way, we are not getting involved with this. Why? Well, because you're shooting people, you're texting racist things, right? These are children. These are children stormtroopers these are not law enforcement professionals, and you don't follow the court's orders, right? So you don't conduct business like we do in the most basic and loudest, obvious, important sense. And then you're also dangerous people, right? You yourself are a criminal, right? We have to restate, we'll arrest you if you break the law. And so Markwayne Mullin admits it's like this, and then he won't do anything about it. So I don't support ICE under Donald Trump's guidance. And furthermore, I would say that, well, people that have long discussed the policy, it's been a long discussion, the policy of abolishing ICE. When you don't take this as ideological rhetoric, but you take this to wonder what laws they're enforcing and where else this lives in a democracy, in the US democracy, in our system of government, the Abolish ICE platform should also be considered. It should be considered in light of what it takes to actually adapt and change the ICE organization. It's very odd. So, difference. Trump is going after certain groups while allowing other groups to enter the country. Obama did what had to be done without any fanfare. Aw, come on, bro. Most law enforcement are not professional. Yeah, we should deeply distrust law enforcement, right? I think there's always going to be people that respect law enforcement. You want to obey lawful commands. Wonder how the guy's day is going. But also just if you have the human reality, the beingness reality is, we both know that a bad chicken burrito, a bad breakfast can change how we react, change how we feel that day, right? And so the fact that there's not moral recognition of law enforcement as a person is a wrong to me. But also the fact that I know we're in a society where we don't recognize other people as deserving moral worth. We don't recognize other species, other people from other countries as having moral worth. So who are these people, right? These aren't great democratic, these aren't great advocates for democracy. These aren't great advocates for human values. And so, it's those people that you give a gun to, right? Those people you give a taser and a vest to, and you have control over my life. I understand that. And then I can also say, well, hey, that's still a person, right? I think in terms of ICE agencies, it's like, yeah, well, at this point, it's not about you personally. It is about the fact that you work in a system, and it appears many of you have been completely unwilling to stand up and be honest about the things you feel about in your organization, right? If you have feelings about things that are toward more dehumanizing, toward things that don't like really truly guiding and creating complexity around being a fascist organization and conspiring to commit murder, I'm not going to trust those guys, right? Abolish ICE. That's it. Abolish ICE, right? Abolish ICE. How do you do that, right? What's the missing ingredient? I don't get it. Letting the Silk Road guy off is crazy. Yeah. I mean, who knows? I think we should give more people a second chance and consider prison reform. To think about 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds versus 20-year-olds, 50-year-olds, whatever. It doesn't make a ton of sense to me personally. One would just say, yeah, it's a really weird society you live in. You also have the death penalty, which I think, there's just a Supreme Court ruling that you can't use. One state ruled you can't use nitrogen gas for the death penalty, and this demonstrates, right? This demonstrates not just that some methods are cruel and unusual, but I think that the death penalty itself is cruel and unusual, right? You say that what you were doing before in this death penalty system is promising people that you would die based on an illegal method. That's crazy. That's absolutely nuts to me. That's wild. That's absolutely wild. So, second chance, what programs are in place to reform people? Yeah, who knows? Who knows, right? You can get some education in colleges. You've got parole programs and stuff like that. And then, this is backing into a much larger system, I think, of what incarceration in federal and state prisons is like. I say pay everybody. And it's also, yeah, it is also saying that, yeah, you are, right, adjacent to the criminal justice conversation, or maybe harder fought one to find, in my opinion, is, yeah, you're also going to and toward and from the same society where it became easy for millions of people to have criminal records. Millions of people are illegal, so, okay, a person is not illegal, and yet there it is, right? There it is. When to me, when we find these exception states or we find these rules where society is a fraud or a construct itself, and it becomes difficult to ignore and impossible, maybe some would say not impossible, but it doesn't have an easy description people recognize. Yeah, that shows that there's a problem in the system. It shows that there's a system level problem and that we're not living by constitutional principles, certainly, but it's probably deeper than that too, right? It's the people. It is the type of person that has a constitutional mindset or constitutional thing in the first place. Like, what? Like, it doesn't make sense. So, whatever you want the subject to be, buying a house in the metaverse, Terry admitting we're waging a war for oil billionaires, dummy. Yeah. Hey, what's going on, Allah? Trump is imposing a war on the Sony-backed groups. If you don't fight, you're threatened with Epstein files. It's the innocent people who suffer. Now they're threatening Turkey too. America is leaving NATO. Yeah, that's a giant geopolitical bite. Yeah, very giant geopolitical bite or something like that. I got no do. I wish I should learn more about Turkey. Since we got more friends of the Duxby channel are from Turkey, I should probably learn more about it. Unfortunately, I don't know enough about it. I don't know enough, the history. I know in the U.S., this is one of the weird things, how we deal with not knowing about places. The Orientalism described by Ed Said, perhaps pertaining to not Iran, but to Turkey, would be that, like, yeah, you learn about the Ottomans, right? You learn about the Ottoman empires and stuff like this. And then, yeah, and that's it, right? You learn about this weird European Union, not European Union story, and that's it. That's all people know. So, yeah, they let immigrants legally for a farmer to take advantage of them, and then, yeah, and who live here and get money and the government help make housing. Any disconnection is going to make it much worse. Cool. Is that Australia? Queensland, Australia? Through the bag. I'm wondering how we'll repair our relationships with our allies. Cool. Maybe create new ways to interlock and help each other's citizens or something. Okay. I play ball in their country and they can play ball in mine. Cool. I have no idea where you're from. Yeah. Yeah. That's called respect, right? Where I'm from, they call that respect, right? You know, this guy says, fuck them all. It is a blocked message. He says, you know, F them all. I play ball in their country. They can play ball in mine. You know, I don't know where this guy's from, but I respect them for it, right? I respect you for who you are. Thank you. Thank you for conducting geopolitics. Yeah. Thank you for conducting geopolitics. Australia. Cool. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. Who's my president, right? My president right now, I think it's Donald Trump. Isn't it Donald Trump? Cool. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. Nice. Nice. It's a pillow pet, right? What do they call those snuggies and pillow pets? Hey, the guy through the bag's got a snuggie and a pillow pet. I want to go learn more about those. Was Obama a good president? Yes and no. I voiced in the past that I think anyone should consider, if we learned how to resolve wars, that after a point, the only description possible is it's undesirable, it's anti-competitive, and I don't think we fully embodied that lesson. However, I would say Obama did run as what I believe to be truly an anti-war president, but he's also someone that endorsed the programs of the day that suggested that drone violence is a way to resolve things. It's a way to resolve things. And so his insistence, I think, are the two reasons I would suggest Obama is a good president, and why, as a voter, you know, I would have questions. I would have reservations about voting for that president. I would have severe reservations about having to vote for a president like Obama. Yeah. A body pillow. Hell yeah. I honestly don't even know whose ours is. We go through PMs like socks. Yeah, you guys have Albanese right now, right? Isn't it Albanese? Anthony Albanese, right? You guys got Scarlett Johansson. You guys got Margot Robbie. You guys got Russell Crowe. That's what I know of Australia, right? That's what I know of you guys. Sangers. You guys got sandwiches. All kinds of good stuff. Yeah, of course, right? Yeah, everybody knows. Yeah, on my time. You know, when we raise up real tall, and it just happens to be the case that we don't end up fucking ourselves. It always happens, right? Hey, that's not me, right? I'm not like that. What? Yeah, no, that's incorrect syntax. We've never been so far away with Trump. Yeah, right. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah, I think you should do the thing you're doing, say the thing you're saying until you get sick of it. You got to ask, if you don't actually get sick of saying the thing you're saying, you don't actually get sick of doing the thing you're doing, why do you grow out of that habit, right? You never do. You know, you haven't hit rock bottom, kid, right? That's what my dad would tell me. Hey, that's not rock bottom. And I would say, hey, I the fuck agree. You know, I agree about that, right? Who am I? Who am I, right? I am not even a pebble. I'm a pebble and I'm lying flat. I'm a Buddhist. I'm a pebble and I'm lying flat. I'm a pebble and I quit. I'm a pebble and I quit and I quit and I quit and I quit and I quit. That's who I am. Between democracy and communism, which is more successful? No clue. Yeah, it seems democracy, right? That would it would appear democracy is more successful. Yeah, democracy is more successful, or that's what I believe. Yeah, cool. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Rock bottom is, oh yeah. Oh yeah. Hey, you guys like that? You guys know what that is? Yeah. That's called feminism. Hell yeah. Rock bottom is when everything you owned goes up in flames. Yeah, exactly. Uh, commercial properties going belly up soon. Is this true? It's like it's 2008. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. Somebody says Christ is king. We were just talking about Jesus's pig fucking arc. Yeah, he went whole hog in a hog. Cast Blast 1989. Yeah, so Jesus was whole hog in a hog. You can't handle that. You can't handle that. No, I didn't say that. Yeah, that is a fact, though. That's an undeniable fact. That is part of the discussion about interpreting Jesus's life. It is going whole hog in a hog with a bunch of crazy dudes and getting banned for it. You got banned for it, right? No clips, no edits. Jackaroo, are you following the? I haven't watched any World Cup. I have not watched any World Cup. Nixon 5, baby. Let's go Nixon 5, right? I watch Opie Radio. I'm a big Opie fan. I'm an Opie super fan. I've been watching the guy for no less than 2 weeks, and I'm already a super fan. What does that tell you? Already a super fan. Love the guy. Can't get enough of him. Can't get enough of him. Yeah. So, yeah. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. And so I'm being told, right? I've been told that because I'm an American, I cheer for America. Yeah, cool. I cheer for the United States. Me too. Yeah, of course. Must be. Yeah, of course. Yeah, who knows? I don't know. I don't know. What do these guys even say? Doesn't make sense to me. Is credit card department full of all-time high? My question is why the market is at an all-time high. Yeah, I got no clue. Yeah, it is partially, I think, this is when we see indicators like the stock market is at an all-time high. You can look at micro indicators. They're not really, you can look at other macroeconomic indicators such as savings rates. Savings rates are really useful because savings rates are about your economy, but they're also something that economists in every country look at, right? So they are geopolitical. And so we shouldn't, to me, live in a world where if we say, okay, well, economics is important and here's data, this is a description of the world and it's accurate and true in any sense that you could say, where we should be praising, Monsieur Trump, Monsieur Trump, our French, he's economically our French president in the way we praise him. And yeah, and that's it. They didn't have comfy to sit around and wonder if they were born to the right body. Yeah, cool. Yeah. I want to get more coffee soon. I'm going to get more coffee soon. I might stand up myself and get the coffee pretty soon here. And so, yeah, thoughts on the assassination of JFK? What did it impact on the U.S.? Well, for me, the fact that it was so controversial, we had a pro-peace and Catholic president, right? We had a differentness. We had somebody who said, yeah, national identity can be about truly embodying the United States as a non-interventionist force. And we can do so in the height of the Cold War, and we can learn more from something like this Cuban Missile Crisis than escapades around the world. And yeah, and they killed the guy, right? It turns out the guy died. So there's a lot to be learned, I think, about the U.S. there. And there's also a lot to be learned about nonviolence and pacifism, right? I'm going to stand up and get some coffee soon. If you guys want to send red super chats, pink super chats, $50, you guys go donate money to your favorite rescue farm, right? You can donate money to rescue farms, to NGOs. El Nino's coming. If you want to donate money to climate change relief funds, things like that on behalf of the Ducks Y channel or behalf of yourself, right? I told you guys, if you guys are well-to-do and you've never dropped the big 500, right? Go drop the big 500, drop the $10 that you can't afford. Go drop the $50 you can't afford. Do it once, right? You can set up a monthly subscription like it's anything else, and you will be right next to that problem in a way that you never have been before. So support the channel, support your favorite charities, support your favorite content streamers. El Nino's coming. This is a big climate change event this year. There's worse projections. The projections over 5 years are awful, man. I'm telling you guys, hey, look, I'm ready for it, man. I got sunscreen, I got coffee, I got water, I got my power down. Bam, one light switch off. There we go, guys. What's better? What's worse? Man, I need a ring light, right? I need an LED ring light, low energy. Donate that big red $5.99 super chat, $4.99 super chat. Hit me up, guys. Help me out. My question is it time to pay the bills? What's going to happen? Yeah, absolutely. We see usually the poor, people like Bernie Sanders, communist and socialist. A socialist economist, Richard Wolff, would say, yeah, it's not surprising. And when you study why or how or when the poor are taken advantage of by macroeconomic conditions in the United States and in other places, he would say, well, you get stuck with the credit debt, you get stuck with the unemployment problems, you get stuck with higher interest rates. So all of those things, because you're the largest consumer class with the lowest savings rate, it's just logical. That's where you put it, right? This is one of the big problems in capitalism. To make it more tangible is that, yeah, the savings rate amongst the poor is the lowest. So poor people, it's not only don't build wealth, but they're dealing with the problems people are saddled with at that layer of society. So it's very odd to think of men and women or people, irrespective of your identity. You have to reach the age of 45. You've got to get the shit beat out of you a few times before you realize what it's like to live in a modern society. It's really unfair. I don't think it's condescending to people my age 36, to say, well, we still haven't done it all or seen it all or lived it all. Others have. Yeah, rich people don't realize their gains. Yes, you can picture someone who's got $2,500 a month in credit card bills that somebody issued credit cards or lines of credit for. That's very sad. It's very sad to think of that. Did CIA fail when 9/11 happened? Yeah, you can pull that back to the 70s and 80s and 90s and look at how U.S. had treated non-state actors. And yeah, I think there is a longer conversation. And yeah, sure, the CIA did fail, but it was a political, when people say it's a political failure, that's a story that goes back not infinitely, it goes back about 30 years. And then you might say the systems that produce delusional or sort of fever pitch thinking about non-state terror groups starting in Palestine and ultimately spreading across the Middle East was where the West was focused. You can say, well, the systems, without truncating the discussion or the topic, these are older systems, right? These are geopolitical international order questions and do have to do a lot with a lot of stuff. So it's a massive question. It's not a small question. And I would say, no, the CIA didn't fail. It was a political failure. It was a political failure. If we redistribute their wealth, inflation would be sky high like 1940s Germany. I don't know what that means totally. Yeah. Everyone was a millionaire, but it cost $1 billion for a loaf of bread. Yeah, hey, that sounds pretty good to me. Make everyone poor like me. I'd rather live in that world. Like I said, I support Ice Cubes. I'm just kidding. I'm a millionaire, guys. I'm a rich white male. I don't need you to give money to charity. I don't need your money myself. Middle class would be rich for me. I wish I could pay my bills paid and have debt. Okay, so cool. Yeah, I agree, Tony. That would be pretty nice. I'd love a nice little annuity, a little UBI or something like that. And I'd love to have meaningful work too, right? I'd love to be able to be on that 9-to-5 schedule that I once was on, and yeah, just be able to go to work. And yeah, if you're 20 something and you are taught in a non-delusional sense not to live with your delusions, but yeah, when you start working at restaurants or you start working at other places, the money that you earn, you're expected to have an impact in your life with your wealth, and you're taught people to actually really go do that and think that way and go through it. Yeah, it's a good thing, right? It's a great thing. The adulation of Trump on his birthday is enough to make a North Korean nauseous. Okay, cool. I don't know what that means. I said happy birthday to Donald Trump, but yeah, cool. Big ups, man. You put your opinions in a very practical way. You gained a new subscriber. Cool. Thank you. I appreciate the subscribe and love to India. Yeah, shout out to you. Our inflation is self-made. Good old petrodollar. Yeah, that's right. Our inflation is self-made. Right. Yeah. Trump is God. Cool. Thank you for that, Penny FT. Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yeah. Cool. What do I say? I don't say anything. That's right. Cool. Go loop in some of them boys. Damn boys. What? I thought you wouldn't see. Hell yeah. Now I see all of them. Permaban, right? No, I'm just kidding. I don't do permaban. Just kidding. Test me. I do permaban. Yeah, we do permaban here. I lost access. I was going to go unban everybody, but I don't know where my Chromebook, it just doesn't pull it up, right? Because I've got the Android app. I've got the Android app for YouTube in 2 places on my Chromebook. I also have the Android app on my cell phone. Those are my 2 devices I use for streaming. This is why you guys can donate some money, but I'm just kidding. Go donate to charity. Yeah, on the day of my president's birthday, go donate that big 500 to charity. No, I do not. You can go chase the cat, though. You can go chase the cat. Yeah, I don't do any of that. No, I don't know if that's what you mean, but I don't. Yeah. Should I hoard Bitcoin and buy real estate in the metaverse? Maybe. Yeah. Maybe not real estate in the metaverse, but who knows? Operations are being carried out in the name of Iran. I don't like war, but someone needs to stop these crazy people. I posted a short. I don't know what's going on that half of the world. I don't know why I would need to know. I think that if there's new aggressions that Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump feel they need to respond to, those are serious things, right? Those, and to say that insistence doesn't last forever, as a political reality and one that people seek to avoid, right? But that sometimes responses exist is a horrifying truth. But I don't get when there is an undesirable war. In the 1990s, we see after the Gulf War, it seems like relative peace from the United States. We see neoliberalism take over, globalism take over. And then we see Russia as the Russian Federation, right? A country that incorporated women into citizenship in 1993 following the fall of the Cold War. We see Russia pushed into conflicts into the 90s and 2000s. And one wonders, right? I do think one ought wonder, a lot of this is avoidable, and we're not talking about just wars, but if we are talking purely about cause and explanation, what is this system where we all know so much about each other, but we never know what causes something? It's a very strange world, right? And this leads one to wonder that why it's the case that in some sense, what the CIA is good at and what intelligence agencies are good at is knowing in order to do, right? These are killers. These are scary people in the CIA or the ISI or IRGC. And you say, well, this is weird because these regional wars, these are not knowingness. These are not cases of knowingness. These are big things being big. These are not small things being big. And these are small ways of knowing everything and doing nothing with it, or small ways of just not knowing what you actually know. It leads one to wonder why, once again, when we make excuses for institutions, for leaders, and for international order, right? You say, yeah, who's international order? So did somebody order some international order? And you say, well, no, because you do know, right? Here's the problem is you do know, you did know, and so it's not the fuck surprising to anyone what you're doing, right? What you're doing. Of course. Decriminalize domestic violence. 2017 Russia. I think having a global identity and talking about global feminism would be great. Yeah, so I'd be curious to know exactly what you're talking about or your credentials. A way of framing this that shares what it is and then how you feel about it, or how you feel about it and then what it is. Yeah, I'd be interested to learn about that topic. It sounds very important. Yeah, it sounds very important. Definitely. Even after the government made it illegal to hoard gold and silver. You previously said about Jesus, what's your take on Moses? What? Yeah, On Moses, yeah, I don't know anything about Moses. Yeah, Moses was probably uh in reality, right? It's good to be gay. I think Moses was probably a homosexual. Jesus was probably a homosexual. I thought so. That's my honest opinion on that. Yeah. Yeah, you guys should trust yourself. Have a little intuition or sense about stuff. If we are talking about today, if we're talking about being a little surprised at the ideas that we learn, one of the things I'd encourage is, yeah, be judgmental, cut through something if you need to, but take a second to intuit about it too. Use your faculties as you feel about the topic you're discussing, not how others force you to continuously consider the same thing the same way over and over again. Is the world going to break? That's what I've been told. I've been told I get, right, Nathan Duck, I get abused. I get abused because the world's going to break if you know something. I'm sick of it. Man, boy, I'll tell you this. I wish I was a plumber. I wish I worked in HVAC. I wish I was a landlord. I wish I was so broke that I had an old i5 gaming PC playing low resolution Steam games. I wish all this stuff at this point in time, right? I wish all this stuff at this point in time. I wish I could be any of these people instead of who I am, but I can't, right? Wow. Wow. Every day I'm rediscovering myself. I'm rediscovering a self. Sick of what? What are you going to do to change that? What? You just didn't listen to anything I said. You don't understand what I just said. So I don't know why you're asking me an insistent question. Yeah, what you're insistent upon something up here. This is you insisting. I don't, and you're certainly here, right? You're certainly here, justice is his. Nobody would say you're not. Yeah. Nobody would say you're not. Do you agree that there is, oh, wow, rude. Cool. Wow. Yeah, if you want to come back in 24 hours, you can come back in 24 hours. That's also yours. Yeah. Rude people do get banned from my channel. Yeah. Rude people do get banned from my channel. Yeah. They're banned right away. We're going to fix it all up, right? While we have the Iron Cross, while we have religious symbology, we're going to fix it all. No, we're not waking up. We're not realizing some of this was a shell game. We didn't realize that. What are you talking about? We're just getting started. We're reconstituting and reconstructing what is. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So this is the weird part of people that have superior mindsets, and maybe I'm wrong. I could be totally missing this. But yeah, when you adopt a Marxist methodology below a layer where you can't even see it and recognize that's what you're doing, you adopt like a very extreme form of Marxist epistemology, and it's on the floor where you can't even see it, right? It's sad, right? It is an ugly thing that is going out and interacting in the world. And it's not only ugly, but if it is an excuse to speak and dominate and discuss violence, but you don't know what it is, right? Then color me surprised, right? Color me surprised when it's like, well, we're all together. We're not really together. People say all kinds of crazy stuff once they get apart from one another. We gave our identity, that's somehow contained not in Marxism, but it's contained on just a step further of like this right? This Marxist ideology. I'm sick of it. That's a new thing I'm sick of. I'm sick of people that aren't allowed to have an identity because their identity comes from an already bad belief made more extreme. An already inaccurate belief. It's wild. It's absolutely insane. I'm just gonna go hide that person. You didn't want to be here. You didn't want to be here. Yeah, you wanted to go watch debate streams or something. I don't know who you are. You wanted to go to apologetics. You wanted to go watch a Dawa stream. You wanted to go hear someone talk about the same childish language and call it philosophy and theology. So go do that, right? Go and embrace that worldview. Go embrace that mindset. I'm not trying to change your mind or opinion, but I'm not going to sit here and be abused, right? I'm not going to be abused by an abuser while you're talking like that. It's absolutely insane. Okay. I can scroll up to the next stream. It takes half a second. Yeah. People will hit that do not recommend channel button quick as, yeah. Cool. Yeah, feel free, guys. Feel free. Can we make multi-gen homes normal again? The way immigrants, it's easier to have to help each other work at the same job together. Yeah, the same job together. Could be, right? It could be. I don't know. Like, what? I was talking about Natalia. People can't adopt to life after the war. You'll like Turkey. There are Turkish, Kurdish, Arab, Laz, Circassian, and immigrant populations there. Weird. Yeah, wow. Wow. That's very cool. Yeah. Yeah. That's a heterogeneity. Heterogeneity is a huge challenge to Donald Trump's worldview too. This is a smaller question of what is a large philosophical outlay. When you ask who's more successful, countries that are more like the same or more different, and there isn't a clear answer, right? In fact, you see the most heterogeneity in the United States in our largest economies. And you say, well, yeah, it doesn't make sense that 30% of New Yorkers are immigrants, right? 30% of people in New York, and this is millionaires, right? There's billionaires and millionaires who live in New York from other countries. Yeah, part of it's because it's New York, baby. But this is also sanitation workers, right? It's also construction workers. And so you say that it's at least not a simple answer to the question. But to me, this disproves Donald Trump's and Charlie Kirk's, the thing that they almost did like religious apologetics. They compared this to, the ugly thing we all do anyways. And so you should find morality in God in the ugly thing we just do anyways. No, it's just, right? You're saying what is something that you can study and understand and care about is just ugly. You're saying that something that most people just intuitively have beliefs about your beliefs have to be moral. Your beliefs have to be moral, but they have to be they have to be next to and alongside the ugly thing you're talking about, right? So they have to be moral and ugly. That doesn't make sense. I don't know why morality would be subject to an aesthetic interpretation. I don't believe that's what moral anti-realism actually means either, right? I don't think moral anti-realism and relativists like Charlie Kirk, relativists like Donald Trump, relativists like Pete Hegseth, relativists like J.D. Vance, relativists like Pam Bondi, relativists like Kristi Noem. I don't believe that relativists like Mark-Wayne Mullen, I don't believe these moral relativists are discussing moral psychology. I think when you say that you have to be moral and ugly, what you're actually talking about is actually fascism, right? You're saying that there is something above this, and we're talking about nationalism, we're talking about a drift toward fascism, and we're talking about being disclusive. We're talking about ultimately the need to be disclusive. Our entire population comes from immigrants. Cool. Yeah, I think that's a fine, I'm not that I have to validate anything, but yeah, it's a fine belief to hold. I always wonder, I'm personally of the idea, I'm a little skeptical of the theories that produce, I think the moral recognition of personhood, the moral recognition of a history and what it means, what it's defined as is very important. I just don't know that it remains political infinitely. I'm sure it could, but I don't see why that is. I don't see how that is. I don't see why that is. So yeah, definitely. Yeah. Then why hate those immigrants who are doing jobs in the US and contributing? Hell yeah. Oh, whoops. It doesn't hurt me personally, but it does affect the local economy. Yeah. I mean, I don't think just to be totally honest, how I'm reading this right now, I don't think you've done anything to demonstrate that you're qualified to talk about the economy. Maybe you are, but in terms of my worldview and how I would ultimately have to place that, I would be hard pressed. I don't know how I could be charitable and give you credit for what you know about the economy. Yeah, yeah, I would be hard pressed to know. Um, and then why it's politically relevant too, right? Why it's so you have a belief that immigration hurts the local economy. How Okay, so cool. Granted, why is that politically relevant, right? Why does it sound like you're telling me a foregone conclusion? Hey, what's up, Earl? Good to see you. Yeah, shout out to you. Farm equipment is expensive. Only getting paid 13. Yeah, yeah. Undocumented labor has been, outside of the economics of it, is also subject to it's a gray market, right? Employment is a gray market in economic terms. And so you say, what is a gray market, right? It's not a black market, but it is a gray market. You could always, I'm sure you could talk to an accountant and fill out the tax forms and whatever it is. You could always do this later, right? So it's a gray market, I'm pretty sure. Hire a lawyer or something. You're not going to get locked away forever. But yeah, there's also these cases where there's forms of abuse, there's forms of modern slavery, exploitation, not getting paid, and the nice thing, the mobility or something is that if you know another skilled trade, you can go do that. But that doesn't change what happens where it is, right? As a banana for scale, I guess it doesn't change where you are. If you have friends in Turkey, I recommend you come. Cool. Yeah, I would love to come to Turkey. I would love to. I've got my passport here somewhere. Yeah. When I was a teenager, minimum wage was $5 an hour, and immigrants got paid the same. What's up, Eagle Cat? Yo, 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 yo. Cool. Yeah, thank you. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the channel. They have a wide variety of vegan options. Cool. Yeah. Oh man, you're gonna have to keep me away from, what is it? Is it called Turkish coffee? Strong coffee? Yeah, you're gonna have to keep me away from that though. Yeah, I'm telling you. I'm telling you. Yeah. We already work hard and get paid very little. We're dealing with it now. Okay. Sorry. I'm sorry. I apologize. Hitler was a profound racist. Yeah, Hitler also, this is something Charlie Kirk did, and Hitler also did, right? I was just watching a documentary yesterday, and it was about how in Mein Kampf, Hitler categorizes these ideas just based on how their goodness, how good ideas are. And so he says Christianity is practically useful, and he says this and this and this and this, and this is how Hitler felt about these ideas. But you actually ask, well, why did he do that? And it's because Hitler wanted to go out his praxis, right? His praxis was very strange, So, he was very racist. He felt, and so you have to realize that a person who says, well, leftists are violent, or a person who says Christianity is practically useful, there's no reason they don't also say, well, anti-Semitism is, it's both strategically necessary and it's like a force or something. Like this is a powerhouse, right? This gets those military guys up and running. You got something to right next to in front of them. Right? It's very stupid. It's incredibly stupid. You very quickly lose it's not just that you lose humanity. But yeah, that's the same guy. That's you as a voter, if you're actually this far out and you don't see that the comparison I made is talking about two psychopathic, dumb human beings, low IQ idiots who are psychopaths, right? If you don't see that that's what that is, Hitler is also the guy that got 50,000 people burnt alive in a day, right? It was a phone call. That's how that happened. He got 50,000 people burnt alive. This is the same guy that had to assassinate. He had to execute over 100 of his own generals. This is the same guy that got over 500 of the highest ranking military officials in his country killed in like 4 years, right? So this is the idiot you're talking about. Is you cannot have leadership structures yourself. So whether you or someone else deconstructs your leadership structure, that's who Hitler was as a person, or whether it's the case that you're the person who actually gets people burnt alive, that's also Hitler. That's also Hitler. A phone call, literally. Hitler was such a great leader, said the Nazis. And in a single day, you lose 250,000 homes. You have men, women, and children running out in the streets. You have no roads anymore. You have no, right? So you basically go overnight from a modern city to a war-torn, famine-torn country with no availability, right? Food crises, no education, all of it's gone. That's your leader, Hitler, right? So when you accept that this guy can categorize things for you and conclude things for you, you're also accepting that, well, that's what comes from that ultimately, is no leadership capacity. Hey, I hope you're okay, man. I hope you're okay, Ray. I'm just going to give you a timeout for the day. I don't know why I'm going to sign off pretty soon anyways. But yeah. Yeah. Don't spam, please. Looking up the case of George Floyd, what's your take on police brutality? Yeah, American police brutality. Yeah, there's a reason why we should, I think, move police questions more local and also have federal recognition of what the policing reality in the United States is like in various economic questions, so we can learn together, right? So there's that element of learning together that's not technocracy, but it's building stronger bonds of democracy, saying that local candidates, when you need to, you should run on police issues. You should run on police issues. And you can be a constitutional conservative, not a MAGA GOP, who supports police officers, right? How does MAGA support police officers? It's not clear to me. To me, what's clear is that you are going to be an enemy to the court system, which is part of the system that you work in. It also, to me, alludes to the fact that you are going to be an enemy toward and of people that are just like you, right? People that did not break the law, that from RoboCop's perspective did not break the law. And so to say that, there's modern ideological and fascistic contexts, there's modern political contexts that are really difficult to make sense to something enduring that sticks around, right? When you consider it, I think it's also the case that racialized policing, racialized spaces have created enormous difficulties. And to say that both don't exist is also to say, well, two fundamental forces, in my opinion, two fundamental forces also exist there. So that's what I would say. Yeah, that's what I would say. And so when you say, well, you've got all the same people in a democracy, but all the same people that you're going to meet and talk to are either in a racialized space, is what a DEI trainer would tell you, or your training has been incomplete, and so you're going to be doing racialized policing. That's also true, right? That's also true. And the times when it's not true, well, then it just wasn't true in those times, and that's the end of it, And so yeah. But I don't see how MAGA Donald Trump can support people and stuff like that. Are alien outer space out there? You don't need to be woke anymore. Cool. Yeah. Be philosophical, right? Well, you don't need to, right? This is what I don't get is in the United States, we don't have to love or hate Canada. We don't have to love or hate Mexico. We don't have to love or hate our own country. We don't have to love or hate Iran, right? What do you get when you keep going? You don't have to love or hate laptops in China. You don't have to love or hate China. Farmers, Beijing, whatever. What do you get out of this? Well, it is at some point, it's not that you're doing all of it all at once. At some point, what you're actually talking about is just you have a philosophy about things as it comes up. Not only do you have a philosophy about things, but you become a student of geopolitics or politics or philosophy or whatever. You say, yeah, that's just what you get out of it. I personally know a guy who used to play one of the Power Rangers. That's pretty cool. That's pretty awesome. I love that. Hi, why is there a shoe on the fridge? Hey, we got the Gila Monster shoes. Yeah, we got the Green Ranger, Gila Monster, Shure microphone rules. Yeah, no Shure microphone up today. We got Harry Potter, Thinking Men, all kinds of great stuff. Love China. Cool. Yeah, I got a lot of love for a lot of places. Yeah, China is waiting on Canada to get done disarming its citizens. Yeah. Man, I think I share, here's my love for China is I go on Alibaba or AliExpress and I see that there are people, importing chips from Taiwan, importing chips from the US, assembling computers and stuff like this. And you got to wonder, I love the cost. I love the products they produce. I love the premium products China produces. But I also see this and say, yeah, I do have the same concerns about your economy that I do about ours, right? It's one beautiful world economy. It's not that we have to compete with each other as nations. But yeah, and so saying that this is the good sides of both of our countries, that I'm a technology consumer, right? That's who I am. Yeah, I am your customer. You have an old generation i9 computer. I even know who buys that, right? I'll look up the multiple, the order quantity that you can do, and kind of talk about the options that you guys have today. And yeah, but I also I'd buy the premium product myself. I'm going to compare you to Samsung. I'm going to compare you to Japanese, American brands, all this stuff. But you're a rich guy, right? Somebody that is a rich guy. I'm the rich guy. Hopefully everybody's having an okay day, decent day. You guys are humans like me, so you're figuring that stuff out. But these are the good parts of both of our countries. I don't understand why people hook, line, and sinker let Donald Trump not only categorize, oh, Christian's good, right? Donald Trump, Christian's good, it's useful, be a business owner, right? Oil, gas, coal, gold, cell phones, all this kind of stuff. But you let him, it's a totality, right? It's a mental totality. I categorize China for you. I categorized California. I categorized California for you. I categorized the good and the bad Supreme Court justices for you. It's all done for you, right? All you got to do is vote MAGA. Doesn't make any sense to me. Just like Charlie, just like Adolf Hitler, right? It is the same pattern, right? That's either true or it's not. Yeah, who knows? Maybe we can't say Donald Trump is like Che Guevara. Donald Trump isn't like Che Guevara or something like this, where, Che said capitalism is a cancer. Okay, Donald Trump says, are other countries like cancers, or, they're just not beautiful, right? They're ugly. It's ugly when we meet each other. Shut up, John. And then, we get to the side where it's Donald Trump or something like this. You don't want to be here, don't be here. Adios. And then, so, you get to the point where, yeah. So you get to the point where somebody asks or says something that's like, yeah, I don't know what it is. Yeah. It's all categorizing. It's all the same stuff. What does Donald Trump believe? Does he think the U.S. is like a lamp? Does he think the United States is like a Snuggie, a microwave? Does he think it's like a beautiful garden, right, with koi ponds and stuff? Or is it like nature? Is it like a river, like a tributary? It's like the whatever? I don't know. I don't get it. But what is he telling you? Everything's done for you. Who cares, right? It's not that big of a deal. What do you think Donald Trump takes huge dumps? I've never met Donald Trump. Happy birthday to the president, Donald Trump. Yeah, happy birthday, Mr. President. Don't tell me what to do. Oliver Tree just died. Have some respect. Is Oliver Tree? He's that liberal. He's that Is he the artist? Oh, my laptop shut down. So unfortunately, I have to reset the drivers on my Chromebook. Yeah, you guys want to send that big red $4.99 super chat, buy me a laptop. You guys want to hit the direct dono link on my page. Big 500 to charity, right? That big 20 you can't afford, that monthly subscription you don't want, go give it to charity. You should want it, right? You should want it. It's going to make you feel good. Any chance civilization as we know it ends tonight? I don't know, maybe. Free Palestine. Cool. Cool. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, amazing. Yeah, you're very welcome. How did he die? He died in Brazil. Oh, he died in a helicopter accident. Wow. Among 6 killed in a crash, 2 helicopters while on world tour. Wow, that's crazy. That's wild. Rest in peace, Mr. Oliver Tree. Yeah, rest in peace. What are your thoughts on how people should live their lives? I don't have thoughts on how you should live your life. That'd be incredibly narcissistic. I'm not a cult leader. I don't know you. I've never met you guys. I'm playing a character up here. Yeah, my real life name is Nathan. I'm playing a character. Yeah, great character. Isn't that a great character up here? Yeah. So that's who I am, right? That's who I am. Lighting or drone strike. What? Oh, hey, thanks so much. Oh, thanks so much for the huge $10. We got a huge 10 coming in from Earl. You don't have to do that. I know Earl puts in a lot to a lot of the same communities I'm in. I really appreciate the huge yellow super chat. Thank you so much. Real life wizard, I come for knowledge. In my opinion, gang culture in the US is ruining the teens. Cool. Yeah. In the US, yeah, gangs, we see gangs, some people justify gangs saying that, well, it's two coins of the same system, right? And so the fact that you fit in Harvard, the fact that you fit in all this other stuff and someone else fit in a gang, and you can wonder, one can wonder, well, if the values are so different, what is this society like, right? What is the society like? And they'll say, well, we still know this. And so at least what this tells me from, let's say I was a law enforcement official or part of the DEA, I would say, yeah, this tells me that this is a career path, right? It would be a career. It would take a lifetime or a career. A warrior life fighting gangs isn't like Donald Trump blowing stuff up. It would be understanding why criminality exists in organizations. What's the proper usage of laws like RICO statutes and things like this. And then what are those actually about, right? What are those about to all people? Why is it the case that when there's political problems being solved by law enforcement and you use law enforcement to solve the problem, it's an interesting one, right? Cool. So you wanted to play cops and robbers and somebody wants to solve it. What are your thoughts on how people should live their lives? Somebody said, I already answered. I don't know. I got no clue, man. I don't know how to live my own life. Hey, happy birthday, Adam S119. Happy birthday to you. Very cool crow picture too. Happy birthday to you. Yeah, I hope you have a beautiful day. I hope you have a beautiful day and you're surrounded by beauty. I hope you're surrounded by nice things and appreciate a little bit of all of it. Is that a slave behind you? I've got no clue. Maybe. That's a weird statement. They're integrated, the same owners. Cool. Legalization of arms in the public is a good thing or a bad thing. Okay, cool. Yeah, amazing. Yeah, you guys figuring out where to go, whether it's your birthday or just another day. What makes you say, wow? What makes you say, hey, wow, it is wondrous to be alive. It is amazing to be alive. It's great to be alive. It's great that there's a community of people that support me. Those are all good things in my view. Yeah, it's all good things. Yeah, being the person you are while you're there and stuff. Yeah, that's awesome. It's awesome. I hope you're surrounded by naked women, Adam. Cool. Yeah, Pappy Vandals, that's a very nice birthday wish. Very nice birthday wish. Yeah, cool. Yeah. Okay, let the guy be, right? Let the guy be. There's enough dumb mills here. We all know. Beautiful women. What does everyone want? It's just beautiful women, right? There you go. Yeah. Hey, we have a president in their 80s again. Woo woo. Cool. Yeah. Someone says Jesus is Lord. All right. Yeah, looks like the naked women comment won the stream. A lot of people are saying support for that naked women comment. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Hey, I hope you're well. Be well soon. I don't know if this translated correctly. If you're sick. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Or if it's me, right? I'm the one who's not well. Yeah, of course. Thank you. Either way, I hope you're well. I hope everybody's well. 144. Hey, there we go. Yeah, there we go. That's not how you say it. Yeah. That's not how you say it. How do you say it? I don't know. Say, be gone, Jezebel. Be gone, Jezebel spirit. I ain't with you. Hey. Yeah. Hey, it just turns out. It just turns out everybody's got the same issue, same problems in the United States. Not enough booby bars. Not enough booby bars. I ain't talking Hooters. I'm talking whole hog, right? I'm talking straight out of the gas. Jesus, right? The kind of booby bars Jesus Christ himself would have endorsed. You know, my uncle Tio, he would tell me, right? I'm sorry, but my uncle Tio would tell me, he would say, yeah, you go where there's naked women, right? And you'd say, Tio, why is that? And he goes, well, didn't I just tell you? You know, you can go get a michelada or tecate and there's naked women, right? What needs to be explained? What needs to be explained there? Hey, thank you, Tio. Thank you, Tio. Viva la Norte. Yeah. I like boobs and money. Cool. Simple philosophy. Yeah. I don't know what I have to tell people to have them send me $17 million. $17 million. So Oliver Tree Nickel was born in 1993 from Santa Cruz, California. He was a singer, songwriter, rapper, producer, and filmmaker. He's known for electropop, wry lyrics, and distinctive style. His 2017 signing with Atlantic Records, so he was on a major label, came after his song When I'm Down went viral. His debut album, Ugly is Beautiful, was released on 2020 and a deluxe version in 2021. Yeah, so rest in peace, Oliver Tree. Yeah, he should be remembered for his music, and hopefully I'm hoping for a lot of peace for the people that loved him. Yeah, yeah. I just came in, so I don't know what's going on but for politics, I just wanted to find mutual ground. Fighting doesn't solve anything. Cool. Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it. Yeah. Hey, thanks, Matthew. Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah. You look like somebody who doesn't know anything. Yeah. If you're hiding behind a username or PFP, I would hate even more what's on the other side of it. Yeah. Cool. Apparently. So that's what we're doing. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. There's a UFC fight going on Paramount Plus. Cool. Creepy, bruh. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. People that use homeless as a criticism are low IQ. Yeah. It's all they want to do is create tangents about other people, develop coping mechanisms. No one gives a fuck, right? That's it. That's how lazy that is. That's really how lazy that is. Like, am I supposed to hibbity bibbity hibbity bibbity shibbity shibbity shibbity? What am I supposed to say? I don't know you. I've never met you. I don't talk to you. What? Yeah. Should I not? I don't get it. Should I not go live today? I should not go live today because people are out to abuse others. You just look like a bum living on the streets. Cool. Well, go enjoy whatever the internet brings to you today. Yeah. Go enjoy whatever that brings you today. Clean up your language. Bunch of just arrived. What's the topic? Whatever you want it to be. Hey, Aaron. I don't know, man. Yeah. Yep. Welcome to YouTube mobile land. Welcome to YouTube vertical streaming land. We are our own place, apparently. And just, yeah, what people are like here is I think a lot of people want to have a discussion for whatever reason, a reason I haven't tried to identify and probably won't identify. You guys trust me, Duck, Nathan, for having conversations about stuff. I don't know why. And that's how absurd that is to me. Yeah, that's how absurd that is to me, is apparently everything comes back to me. Yeah, I'm Charlie Kirk now. I'm Charlie Kirk. I'm Charlie Kirk. I'm Charlie Kirk now. Look at me. My name's Nathan or Duck. I'm Charlie Kirk now. I'm Charlie Kirk. I'm Charlie Kirk. So, whatever. How much do you think Carmelo Anthony's... it's a very disrespectful statement. Yeah. I think that's making too whimsical a question that you're not actually asking about. You're not actually asking about. If that's a question you're exploring, I don't know how that's. So you're exploring the question. I don't know how you're doing that, to be honest. Yeah, I recommend falling down, right? We call this falling down. What happens when you stand up? Well, you become the person doing the thing. So what are you doing? Well, you're not really doing the thing, right? You're standing up instead of doing the thing. So when you fall down, you can actually go do the thing you said, right? It's uncomfortable. People don't like it, but congratulations. Hello. Hello. Cool. Trump should be the vice president to keep America straight. Yeah, once again, I would say you're standing something up. You're standing something up that belongs to all of you, belongs to you or something. And so, yeah, when you stand that up, I would say, yeah, how are you doing that, right? You know, how are you doing that? I would, again, recommend falling down and saying, well, if you want something like an outcome of Trump being the vice president, or you want something like Trump having a third term as president, and that's not possible, if you fall down, what is the world like where that's true? What is the world like where that's true? What discussions or discourse do you have where that's true? Right? That's what falling down would be to me. Who cares who's, you know, have some interest in other people's beliefs. Have some interest in fringe organizations that you don't believe in, but something like the ADL or the SPLC. Go read the website, wonder what's on the website, and wonder how others interpret that. You know, you and Donald Trump have given each other gift baskets of this is what the world is like. We've already categorized everything. It's this or it's that. It's this or it's that. The problems we have, it's this or that, right? It's right. If it's not the Catholics causing the courts to rule against MAGA or something, then it's something else. So, okay, cool. Who cares who's president? Hey, what's going on, Commander Luke? Yeah, you don't have to be a political person. Even I would guess, I bet there's a good amount of political scientists who haven't voted or don't vote every election. You can have an interest in what's going on in the causes of the world and not be super political or identity based yourself. You can see that just the modality of identity politics that happens where everything's a gift basket, everything's, you know, whatever, it's floral arrangements or something like this. It's all nonsense. Yeah, it's this or it's that. It's this or it's that. Yeah, cool. Trump, it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. Yeah, look how excited and happy the guy is. Look how excited and happy the guy is. You don't have to like, but respect the seat is what we're taught in the military. Oh, cool. Tom's a veteran. Thanks for your service, Tom. I got let me show Tom this. There's Granddad. You see that? That's an air demon. Whoops. That's Granddad. That's a Purple Heart. Yeah. You like that? That's called an air demon. Whoa. All right. There we are. There's me. Hey, there's me. Yeah, I do Stolen Valor content on the channel, everybody. Potato01600 says F Trump. Cool. Yeah. Hey, what's going on, Desi boys? No, I don't enjoy illicit substances. Yeah, I do. I got this. You guys see? Pretty cool. Not that cool. It's a nasty, disgusting habit that's gonna kill me sooner rather than later. And it already is. Cool. Should you buy gold? Yeah, I still think I'm still set that, yeah. You know, the way people define their own words and language for you is not about the $10 trillion problem. It's not about the 10 trillion problem in environment and things like this. So whatever. Yeah, whatever. I don't know. Why buy gold? Why trust MAGA Donald Trump? Why buy everything Democrats in the US? Why buy everything labor or conservative movements tell you when people are further left or further right? What about their idea or view do you believe? You know, do you believe people solve problems, that there are helpers in society in the world? If you believe that, then that's a good thing. Yeah, that's a good thing. It's a good thing. The president has normalized cruelty that has permeated the zeitgeist to an unprecedented level. I see it all the time. Yeah. And so everything Donald Trump's done, I would say, is either built on a false foundation or a foundation that just usually isn't for everyone. who knows? It's either this exclusive space, and the people who claim to know it are either the wizards of industry, they're the dominant men, they're rich women, or it's the case that it just doesn't exist, right? It doesn't exist in Donald Trump's world. It does for MAGA Republicans. The point is that MAGA is supposed to overtake not even the flooring, but just what you call the flooring, or something like that. Hell yeah, yeah. Cult leader. What kind of cult leader? Why is gold so high? Does it have pressure of the economy? All right, guys, that's the stream. I'm gonna close the stream. We'll see you guys later.